Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Logan, drunken metalhead who muses, and today we are neglecting Mother's Day and choosing to nerd out about a band Gojira instead. So, happy Mother's Day to all who are who are celebrating, though, for
Happy Mother's
sure.
Day. Hope you
Happy
called
Mother's
home
Day.
today. If you didn't call her, do it.
I shot a text, so I'll call after we've had a couple beers on this stream and nerded out about Gojira. But
Yeah.
I'm joined by my buddy over here, Ben. So,
Hello.
dude, thanks for popping in. This is the your YouTube debut, right?
Indeed it is. And one of my favorite bands of all time, so works out perfect.
Yep. It's definitely it's easier to get in, to doing a stream when like the band is like this. You've had, for me, God, a decade's worth of history with it. Just easy and fun to talk about. So
Yeah.
I did take a fair amount of notes, but then at the same time, for a couple of these albums, I don't really think I had to. It's just kind of second nature for some of these.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a couple of those albums I've listened to probably 50 times, and I return to certain songs over and over.
Dude,
so
easily.
Definitely. I think some of those are going to be the same for probably most Gojira fans.
Yes. I think if you're a Gojira fan, you probably know what albums or songs we're talking about. But yeah, this is a extremely important band for both myself and Ben. And I think extremely important if you're like a certain era of metalhead, If you were getting into metal around the mid to late 2000s, this was that band for you. It's a little, it's cool to have the metal mythos being the way that it is, where everyone's like, oh yeah, back in 1987, I remember when Scream Bloody Gore came out, and picking up Leprosy and it being the best thing. But if you get into metal in that era, we weren't around for that. We were just looking in the rear view and just kind of reminiscing and thinking fondly about what it might be like to have been around during that era, with bands releasing landmark albums. And I think Gojira is just one of those bands for our era where they were actually releasing landmark albums, like 2005, 2008.
Yeah,
and we were able to go and pick it up on release day and actually follow the band and follow their rise to success, because they've grown a lot and are probably now the biggest one of the biggest bands in the scene.
Yeah, they're huge, and they're for me, they're one of those bands that kind of got me into metal away from the metalcore side of things, because I was a big metalcore kid at that time. As They Lay Dying is like the greatest band on earth. Unfortunately, now
the Christian metalcore, right? That was
exactly.
August Burns Red was big for me.
So yeah, they were like one of the first metal bands. I know some people can be like, "Oh, they're not really metal," but whatever. So They're like getting me into that more, like more groove and like riff heavy instead of just the slick metalcore production and everything.
Yep, they were definitely a bridge to that extreme metal sound. Like helped with getting me into death metal and black metal, and and their focus is on the riff. I think if I were to think of a riff band, it's Gojira. They have some of the best riffs ever written, period. Like we'll talk about some of them for sure, but I guess real quick, let me kind of introduce the band, and then we'll talk about how we got into them. So yeah, Gojira is one of those rare bands, four dudes out of France, and it's the same four dudes who started it. The two brothers, Joe and Mario. Joe being the rhythm guitarist, Mario, of course, being drummer. They got Christian on lead guitar, and then Jean-Michel on bass.
Jean-Michel Labadie.
Thank you.
A fellow mountain biker, I'll say.
Yeah.
He's super into mountain biking, which I'm also into.
Have you watched some of his? I just learned that when I was researching for this that that's apparently a pretty big part of his life
Yeah,
is mountain biking.
yeah. There's a cool video for global warming that he did, and it's just him riding his bike to that song. And I had no idea. I was just getting into mountain biking at the time, so it was pretty cool to know one of my favorite bands was also into mountain biking.
Yeah,
And of course, in France, which has some of the most incredible mountain biking in the world.
I guess it's pretty hilly out there, pretty
Yeah,
mountainous.
the Alps they're pretty big. Not like the ones here in Asheville. We have little hills.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, they're mountains. It's probably but they're you know 6,000 feet compared to I don't know what it is out there,
or
12,
the Alps.
13, 14.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely foothills in comparison.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was. So it's been those four dudes from their inception back in the early '90s. So, I guess before we kind of dive into more of their history, let's talk about how we kind of got into this band because for me it was, as I was saying, it was early on into getting into extreme metal. So it wasn't like easy to just get into a band like this. But I'll let you go first. My cat is once again begging to be let out. So
I thought it was mine at first.
nope, he's at the door being a little turkey.
Oh, mine will join soon. Yeah, so I got into Gojira back around the time that The Way of All Flesh was released. And I'll tell you about the song later when we get to the first song I heard because it's a good story. It's a very unlikely song to start with. But I was actually in the Marines at the time when I first heard them. Very unhappy lad. Was not super stoked on being in the military and everything. And so I listened to them and just their sound versus the metal core that I was used to listening to, this August Burns Red, As I Lay Dying. It was a big change. I really enjoyed it. Took me a little bit to kind of get it. But once I did, yeah, especially hearing songs like Flying Whales and stuff like that, it just like blew my mind hearing that kind of metal. So yeah, we'll talk about the first song, but in particular the first riff I heard once we get to that in our discography. So what about you?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely in that early era of like being kind of scared of the more extreme like death metal and stuff. The year I got into them around 2010, 2011, and that was like, yeah, me going from Shadows Fall and you mentioned August Burns Red into more extreme bands, and Gojira was definitely part of it. Love was the first song I heard, and holy shit, that was too much. I think I stumbled onto the music video one day and was not ready for it. I think I made it to where the song really kicks in with that crazy fast riff, and then I was out. It's too much for me. And then I tried again with Backbone, but same thing. There's that fast tremolo riff that they play.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that turned me off. I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. But at the same time, it was it kind of stuck with me because of how just powerful and intense it was,
Right.
And it was still very catchy. Like it was super out there and extreme, but at the same time stuck with me. So the final song that actually made me go, I like this band was Vacuity. Vacuity?
Yeah, Vacuity?
Vacuity? Yeah. And that's like that slower, more death metal oriented song where it's just like boom, boom, like it's more driving pace.
Yeah.
And because of that, it finally clicked. And it was watching that music video. And I think it going from that slow burning death metal to where it picks up halfway through, I was actually able to stick with it and follow along, and it, finally clicked with me, and that led me to buy this as my first album that I picked up. And
Yeah.
dude, from there,
Yeah.
it was done. So
It took me a little bit too. Like, I didn't love them when I first heard them. It was such a big change. It's
yeah,
like, okay, this is way different than I'm used to hearing. But after a while, yeah,
a little bit. Except
exactly.
it doesn't burn as much the next day, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess real quick while we're still doing introductions, you got a beer pairing for us, right?
Oh, yeah. So I'm drinking.
Yeah.
I decided, since, if any of you know, Gojira is very environmentally friendly.
Oh,
So I picked up Weeping Willow from Mother Earth.
holy shit, dude! Are you kidding me?
It's wait, what did you get? Oh, no way! Yeah, they're carbon neutral. They're
that's
fully.
that's funny, dude.
No way. We didn't collaborate on this. We didn't talk about this. So
No,
that's
but
great.
like from the word jump, when I knew we were gonna do this, I was like, all right, what's my beer? It's got to be this one. I mean, like even the logo is kind of reminiscent of L'Enfant Sauvage.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, you were saying that they're like 100% solar powered. They have like use a lot of water conservation techniques and stuff.
Right. So it's like it's their big theme, which, again, Gojira, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
They're very very focused on the environment.
Exactly. And I think that's part of why they're, as important as they are to me as well. Because like their message really does stand out almost separate from the music. Like it works together with the music, but then at the same time, it stands out separate from it. And it really makes them seem more genuine and like just good dudes who actually care and are actually trying to make a difference,
Right.
And
They play with conviction.
mm-hmm.
And it's, I love death metal bands like Cannibal Corpse, where they're just, singing about the most absurd, ridiculous things. It's kind of funny, but Gojira is they're a very serious band. They're not a band to be taken lightly.
And that kind of separates them from a bunch of other metal bands too, because I don't think as many others play with that same conviction and really have the message in the same way too. Like
Right.
Panopticon probably does, but they're on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
And I think other bands that kind of play or are trying to be more, environmentally conscious or, just talking about environmental issues, they come at it from a little more anti-human perspective.
Yeah.
Like think about Cattle Decapitation, man. Like they just dropped a new album. Their MO is like, there's too many people. Like we gotta, people are garbage. Let's kill all the people, essentially. But Gojira never kind of come across that way. They very much, I think, are more humanistic and,
Yeah.
want
They're
to
pretty
focus.
overall positive. There's definitely
There's anger.
Like specifically one of the albums is a lot more, I don't want to say negative, but it's an angrier album, and definitely they take the harsher approach towards all of that. At least from what I got this go around listening to it and really analyzing the lyrics and the overall message of the album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that definitely helps them to stand out for sure. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about like their history. So formed in France in kind of 1996. They were pretty young too. Like Joe was like 17 and Mario, the younger brother, was 12, I think, when they started. So he was significantly younger. Yeah. And I think that first demo, he might have been 14 or 15. So they released their first demo was called Possessed, and this is when they were under the moniker of Godzilla. So they didn't immediately start out as Gojira. And they
Right.
released 3 demos. One was called Victim, another one was Possessed, as I mentioned, and the final one was Saturate. So, and this was between like 1996 through 1998, and yeah, through that time they kind of formed the full lineup of the 4 dudes that we mentioned earlier. And I would say the sound for like the Godzilla demos was straight up like 90s technical death metal, really. Like I heard a lot of individual thought patterns by Human, or probably some Atheist or Cannibal Corpse. It was definitely different. I think we were talking a little bit before the stream.
Yeah, a little Morbid Angel.
It didn't have that Gojira. Oh yeah, definitely Morbid Angel.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, it wasn't super original. It's cool. I hadn't heard it until you sent that to me.
Yeah.
But I listened to that, and yeah, it's cool. But not definitely wouldn't be my go-to death metal album.
And because it doesn't sound like Gojira, you're not gonna put it on to listen to Gojira. You're
right,
gonna grab
exactly.
a different album.
Yeah.
So as they're like building up to their debut album, they have to change their name for obvious reasons. And I gotta say, I like Gojira better as a band name than Godzilla, because I think Godzilla is indeed a little too obvious, too big, But Gojira just sounds cooler to me.
Yeah, and if you get it, everyone knows Godzilla. Everyone knows who Godzilla is, but not as many people know who Gojira is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe over the pond, in Japan, where that is Godzilla. But yeah,
it helps them stand out.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. If you Google Gojira, or if you talk about Gojira, most people here know that as the band.
Mm-hmm.
They've made such an impact that they've claimed that name. I don't know how it is over other parts of the world.
Yeah.
When you talk about Gojira, you're not talking about the big monster. You're talking about the band.
Yep.
Or the kaiju. It's not the kaiju. Use a proper terminology, I guess.
Yep, they are entirely separate. So yeah, from there, they're building up to their first album, which was released in let me see, 2001, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep, March 2001.
Terra Incognita.
Which, yes. So here we go. Do you have this one?
I don't. I actually, man, I don't have a ton of their stuff, which is a shame. But there's definitely a few I like to pick up on vinyl.
Yeah. After this, that's likewise. There's a couple albums that I am missing, and this revisiting them for this stream has basically made me determine I need them for sure. So yeah, this one came out on Listenable Records. So this is before they signed to Prosthetic. I think this is the only album that they released on Listenable.
Is that the original or the reissue where they had the live songs?
I think this is the reissue, because there's 3 live tracks at the very end: Clone, Love, and Space Time.
Okay, because I think in the original, because that's the only one I've ever known, is the one that has the live tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that one, you could probably check on there. I think that was released 2006.
Yes.
The original was 2001 and did not come with those live tracks. But that's I like that they did that and included live tracks, because as we will see along this journey, Gojira is a live band.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
where they excel. Yeah.
Yes, they're really good in their albums, but they've always been a live band and always been a band that's just they record music so that people can get into them and come to their live shows.
Yep. So you want to go in? I'll let you go first. You want to go and dive into this album?
Oh yeah, it's I mean, it's not one that I've listened to a ton. I've listened to it a bunch of times, but it's not my go-to. I've seen them play Clone live before, which
cool.
is really cool. Seen a few of those. Like they always play Love live, or usually play Love live. I've seen that a bunch of times, and that's kind of, that one is one of my favorite ones on the album. Blow You Away Universe.
Yeah.
Which that one, or Blow Me Away Universe, I never really paid too much attention to that one until I saw them play it at the Orange Peel, and it blew me away.
Yeah.
That's the name of the song.
It was funny. I liked your interpretation of the sound bite before they go into it.
Yeah,
we're up shit creek.
He's like, dude does like bark sounds. Like, what's going on? It's a bizarre album.
Dude. It is. It's a really weird album.
There's some good songs on there, like Clone, Blow Me Away, and Love, but a lot of the other ones are kind of like, there's some weird ones like
what do I do with this?
What's the that 1990 quadrillion de tons?
Dude, that one is tough to listen to.
Yeah, it's got the screaming and banshee sounds.
It sounds like you're like descending through hell or something, like going through all the circles. Or I have no idea what they were trying to do.
I guess maybe that's what they're going for. But it's definitely, and it was a pretty aggressive album. And oddly enough, I got some new metal influences. I don't know if you got that.
Yes.
Especially like Satan Is a Lawyer. That one, it's kind of new metal-ish. So it's like they're still trying to figure out their sound. They're going from death metal. They still had very aggressive sound, lots of blast beats. Very early on, showed off Mario's drumming capabilities. But they're definitely still trying to figure out their sound, I think.
Yeah. Do you think they were trying to blend in to what the sound of the era was, to try to like, I don't know, kind of break in and get bigger or get more recognition? Because it's oddly unique to their discography that influence is just randomly there, because it's immediately dropped on the next album.
I don't know. That's a good question. It would kind of make sense, I guess.
Because the demos are straight death metal, and then all of a sudden there's a little bit of new metal, and you're like, what?
Yeah, and that definitely was prime time for new metal. The early 2000s was.
Dude, Toxicity was released that year.
Great album, by the way. I don't care what anybody says. That is.
I got it over here somewhere.
The most important albums in my life.
Nice.
Still listen to it. Don't listen to much new metal, but yeah, it's a good, that Terra Incognito it was a unique one, probably their most non-Gojira album.
Yeah. And that makes it stand out to me.
Yeah. In the Forest, I liked how aggressive that one was, and how like a lot of blast beats, a lot of really fast drums and stuff. And the outro is pretty cool. Kind of a good ending to an album. They did well in that aspect.
Yeah, I agree. Any other thoughts on it?
I think that they also did some of the weird percussion, like another one of the other Trillion Tons. They have that cool little percussion intro. So, which is one of the things that became essential to Gojira. Yeah, I think they had some tapping songs in there too, which is another Gojira, the Gojira special.
Yep. And they introduced the pick scrapes too, right? Because isn't Love filled with like pick scrape sections?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and that's another thing. It's like which that is a staple of Gojira.
Yeah,
You know, it's the Gojira pick scrape now. It's that is that's the part of the Gojira special now, and they've made it. They've
they
coined it.
popularized it.
Yeah, and now it's like it's called the Gojira pick scrape.
Yep,
So
and it's everywhere.
yeah,
All right, so I guess before I go into my thoughts, officially say what's up to Seagull over here. That, and then we also got James. What's up, dude?
yo
Cheers.
yo.
So yeah, this is just a weird album for sure, as you mentioned. I mean, it's like uh, entirely distinct and not that Gojira formula. Like I think on the next one they established like a specific formula and way that they approach their albums, and this one they're kind of just throwing a little bit of everything out there, and it makes it probably their most bizarre album in their discography. So, dude, it opens really strong with Clone and Lizard Skin. Like, that's some straight up like death metal tracks right there. And then Satan is the lawyer. Satan is a liar is the new metal for sure. And it makes me think of Incubus. I don't know if you ever liked Incubus at all,
Yeah,
but like
have to go
I'm
back with
kind of
that
I'm kind of
mindset.
a little bit of an Incubus fan, and it makes me think of Science, if you know that album.
Yeah,
Just how it mainly probably in the vocals and the guitar, and some of the interlude tracks makes me think of Deftones a little bit with like the guitar um like melodies and stuff that they choose to play. uh Blow Me Away Universe is a good one for sure. I think it's got those the riffs on this album are different in that instead of them being like the chuggy Gojira riff, there's almost there's a bounce. There's like that new metal like little bounce to it for some of
yeah,
them, and on Blow Me Away Universe, that's definitely there. And
yeah. And
then
I like that main riff, the pattern that like, against the drums. I guess it's like a kind of polyrhythmic
yeah,
in a way. Yeah,
yeah, you can tell they're already like next level like songwriting with some of the choices that they're making. I mean, it's just
because it's
kind of weird
simple.
off the wall. Yeah,
Like that's a very simple riff, but the way the pattern goes against the drums, and then the groove that Mario's playing there is just sick. And you can already tell. Okay, this guy not only is he technical, but he can play a groove really well. And seeing it live, okay, that was super cool to see them
yeah,
play
dude.
that. So
I'm bummed. I didn't when I saw them. They didn't play anything off of this album, so I didn't get any love or uh, blow me away. But Fire is Everything. I want to mention that song too. That track is well, fucking burner. Um, but then there's some songs that as I said, they kind of get bogged down in that like new metal vibe, and uh, there's too many interludes. Also, like what track on the Bota?
yeah,
That's
very filler.
that's just a weird one. That doesn't go anywhere. We already talked about 1990 quadrillion tons or whatever.
Right.
That's just
That one's just it's
that's just
bizarre.
bizarre and doesn't make any sense. But when the album hits, it definitely hits. Like Love is a great song. Probably. Did you say it was your favorite on the album? I think it's mine. I believe.
Yeah, that it was for a long time until I saw um, "Blow Me Away,"
Oh yeah,
which now it's kind of depends on the day, you know. But
yeah. I got
"Love"
you.
is definitely that is a burner. Always will be. It's a staple of um,
Yes.
their live
It's
set.
just it's such a kind of weird riff too, and it's another one of those like it sounds like off kilter, like it's all about to just fall apart or something.
Right.
And there's that one. I guess it's a breakdown. It sounds like something that Dillinger Escape Plan could write. Uh,
Yeah. I guess yeah. They're kind of
like the middle
mathy-ish.
of the song. Yeah, it's like this off kiltered, like you know, it just sounds like various pianos like falling off of buildings or something. Like it's just. It sounds like a crash happening.
Yeah.
I,
It's
de-
a
I
good
definitely
one
dig
though.
Love. Yeah. And then In the Forest is actually, I'm glad you mentioned that one, man. That's a great closing song, and I think kind of shows where they're going a little bit. Like there's definitely tracks that hint at the direction that they're going in. In the Forest is definitely one of them, probably along with Clone and Lizard Skin and Fire is Everything. So it's it's a weird, eclectic album, kind of unsettling, and a pretty impressive start for Gojira. So I definitely do like this album. It's probably one that I do return to less than others, but yeah, glad to have it.
Oh yeah. I still return to it when when I've listened to From Mars to Sirius enough times. Like, okay, I
Yeah,
gotta time to go to like them deep cuts, and it's definitely one of the albums I skip the most songs on. I would say. Uh,
yeah. It doesn't it doesn't really flow that well as an album.
but they were young. It's especially
Hmm.
Mario. I don't know how old he was, like 2001, but
And
yeah, they're pretty young guys at the time, and for their debut, and I think they didn't they self-release, like they were doing their own recording from the beginning, weren't they? At
they
least
did, yeah.
pretty. They might have had help or whatever, but they always were heavily involved in recording their own albums.
Hmm. So I mean, and I looked it up while you were talking earlier. So originally, it wasn't. It was released, as you said, self-released, and then it got re-released as the band probably got bigger by various labels. And as you mentioned, this is the last re-release, which apparently this was 2009 on Listenable. So
Okay.
yeah, so good start for the band, and definitely not an album to neglect just because it's their first. People should definitely check it out.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's all the elements that would later define them, like the pick scrape, the heavy percussion, but not just blast beats, but almost like the tribal. They have the tribal sound, which is huge for Gojira. I've always
mhm.
seen a lot of their drum beats and everything is very tribal, and not just this crazy technical death metal drumming.
Yeah, yeah. As we mentioned, like all the Gojira elements were already there. It's
Right.
it's impressive for their first album that the hallmarks of this band are on full display. So yeah, from there we're going to here. This is actually another album I do not have, released in 2003, The Link. So
I have that one. That
you
was
do
one of the
have this
first.
one. Oh,
Yeah,
so dude,
on CD.
on CD.
Somewhere. It's somewhere out there. I don't have
Okay.
a working CD player, even in my vehicle. So it's like
Oh shit.
I should get one. But
Dude, I gotta get you one next time I see you. Next time I see you, because I typically use DVD players because those things are everywhere. No
oh,
one uses them anymore.
I have an Xbox, so yeah, there you go.
Dude, that would work. But I probably have like three or four just lying around. So
Word. Well, let's hear what you think.
yeah,
I
man,
gotta grab something real quick, but yeah, if you want to start on the link, I'll be back in just a sec.
dude, sounds good. So yeah, this is the album I probably listened to the least before getting to this. I don't know why. It's kind of, I think, harder to find on physical. I know they re-released it recently on vinyl, but it's just one that I've never picked up, and because of that, I have the least amount of experience with. So my first time listening to it all the way through was in preparation for this stream, and I am definitely impressed with it. Like it it is concise and delivers that Gojira sound that they're, kind of still delivering to this day. Like this is the Gojira formula. Fine, and it only took them one album to get to this. Like it starts with a barn, an intense barn burner of a song. There's like a little interlude, and then it goes back and forth between like crazy like rippers and more atmospheric and groove and riff oriented tracks. So like the Link, I think, is a very important album for them, and one that I need to listen to more, because as I said, it's still my least listened to, but it's probably my biggest surprise for preparing for this stream. I didn't realize I was going to like it as much as I did, honestly. Like I thought it was going to be a little more similar to Terra Incognita, but it's absolutely not. So The Link and Death of Me, kind of a great start. They're more like riff-oriented songs. I think
really heavy groove.
Yeah, riff and groove-oriented. And they start to play around with focusing on like a chorus, like they're trying to build up to like a chorus, especially on The Link, which it works. It falls flat a little bit and is not as engaging as they will be on other albums, but it's definitely cool here. Remembrance is another great song. Tori is the introduction of that instrumental track that they start doing on every single album,
right?
Which is, as I said, it's become a classic staple of their formula. 3 or 4 tracks in, boom, there's that 2-minute like reprieve with an instrumental song.
It's like the B-sides. I don't know. I don't know how the vinyl would.
Yeah, it's like the flip. But it probably would be like that. Like as right after you flip or right before you flip, you would hear the instrumental song.
Right.
And then Indians actually really starts the best part of the album. So I think a lot of Gojira albums for me are front loaded, where it's like the first part of the album is just amazing, good song after good song, and then it kind of wears on a little bit towards the end. But this album is the opposite. All the best songs are at the end to me.
Yeah.
As I said, Indians is just really cool. Like it's the verses are almost doom metal with the pacing, and then it kicks into a killer like death metal riff and kind of off kilter, I guess, chorus piece. Embrace the World, I think that's my favorite song on the album, and starting to touch that From Mars to Sirius sound,
Mm-hmm.
Inward Movement, another great song. Wisdom Comes, holy shit, I think that's their most intense and extreme song that they've done. Wisdom Comes, and it's only
it's their shortest. I would say it's probably their shortest song.
Yeah,
but
you're right. I didn't even think about that.
No filler, just straight for the throat.
Yep.
Just go for it.
Did you say you saw them play that one live once?
Yes, I think.
Wow.
I need to look up. I need to look and see what their set list was. Oh,
yeah.
They're accurate on setlist.fm, except for the first time I saw them. It's not accurate at all. I think the right songs, but the order was not correct. So
yeah, sometimes I wonder about the setlist FM for sure. Like, it's just somebody probably adding it as the concert goes, or if someone finds the set list somewhere.
Right. It's like, hey, I think they got all the songs right on the first time I saw them, but they didn't. They didn't get the order right.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
And then Dawn is a cool instrumental. I think this is really the only instrumental song that they've done of this nature, where it's like 8 minutes long. Oh shit!
Yeah, dude. He's in a cone right now.
Who is this? Poor.
That's Kevin. My dog.
Kevin.
Yeah, he's got an ulcer on his eye, so he's in the cone right now. Poor guy. Dude. Go on.
Man, Gotta love pets when they just enter the stream for no reason.
Oh yeah, I'm sure my cat will be in here at some point,
dude.
Hop in the lap. So
you just roll with it, Yeah. So the link for me, probably the biggest surprise of just listening to their discography, and definitely one I need to buy. Like, I've been looking. They got to reissue it on CD because so far I'm like seeing it for like $20 or something. So good that you have a copy, man.
Yeah, I gotta go dig it up. Like
Yeah,
like the CDs.
find that
my
shit.
old CDs are in storage, so
I gotcha. If I find that shit, find a DVD player or an Xbox, and
I got the Xbox, and that's funny because I never thought about. It's like, oh wait, I can just play a CD on the Xbox because I have my Xbox hooked up to my amp and my hi-fi system. Because that's
see, it's
a lot
already
of times
ready.
When I'm playing video games,
Yeah.
I'll stream Spotify and just turn off the music on the video game. But
Sick.
yeah, the
so
link.
Yeah, you already got it hooked up. Yeah, I'll let you. Here, I'll let you get into it.
Yeah. So the first song I ever heard from Gojira was Remembrance. And
really?
Yeah, and specifically the breakdown. So I walk in my friend's room, and he's like, pretty much right as I walk in, the breakdown goes on. And it's such a, coming from someone who's heard metalcore breakdowns, like some August Burns Red breakdowns get kind of interesting, but to hear that as the first thing from Gojira, it was a lot. It was the production was way different than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's not as clean as I'm sure those metalcore breakdowns and stuff.
Right, and it's just the way the drums are produced are different, and it just, it wasn't. I thought it was cool, but
did you like it, or you were like?
It's one of those things, kind of like hearing like Primitive Man for the first time.
Yeah,
it's not comfortable, and maybe not that extreme because Primitive Man, I still am not comfortable listening to them, but yeah, just hearing that was a really cool introduction to them. I still love that song. The first time I saw them live, they played like a little jam. They didn't play the whole song, but they just busted out that breakdown in the middle of their set. And I don't exactly remember how it tied in, but it was just so cool that they didn't actually play Remembrance. They went straight the breakdown, and watching the reaction of the crowd, like I knew what was going on. So I was like, oh, they're really going to play the breakdown for Remembrance? And
that's when you abandon everything and jump into the pit, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Just like, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't listen to the link a ton, but that was my intro to them.
Was the album overall your intro, or just the song?
The album overall would have been their next one for the most part. But yeah, going back though to the link, I think that's where they started to figure out the Elephant March. That just like the link, Death of Me, both have that. Especially the link has that.
It's that groove march.
It's just like, it's not fast. It's just this pummeling, marching, just massive riffs. And yeah, that's kind of, I think, where they figured that out and would obviously expand on those huge kind of slower riffs over time. And yeah, the Link of Death of Me they just went straight for the throat with the slower pummeling groove. Remembrance song's always going to hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they're like you're saying, they've got the Tory, where it's their kind of instrumental interlude, but it would go straight back into their groove again. And then Embrace the World is one of my favorite tracks from that album, especially the ending where they have the throat vocals, like
Yeah,
the throat singing.
that's what I mean. That makes me think of From Mars to Sirius, and especially because he starts to sing a little cleanly on it too.
Yeah, and that's one of those. I don't think I've seen them play that live, but
Mm.
I would love to see that. Just that there's like, I embrace the world. Yeah, just so that one, such a good album. I think from start to finish, better overall than their first album. Less weird songs. Um, you know, Inward, and the next couple songs they're really good. Right, Over the Flows, was that the name of the song? Over the Flows.
Yeah, that's the one that's like,
That
out
was
of
kind
the
of weird. I think
yeah.
I'm not. If it's like on, then I'll keep it going. But
That's the most terra incognita that album gets. I think is that song.
yeah, and then Wisdom Comes that's possibly their heaviest track out there. They just put everything into those 2.5 minutes or whatever it is, and just yeah.
Let it all out, man. When did you see that one live?
When did I see it? I'll look that up. If you want to keep talking
Okay.
about it, I want to see because I got to put together the set lists to see
Okay.
when I saw each song because I know I've seen it. I just don't remember when it was.
Yeah, I think in closing on the link, it's a super important album for them, and it might just be overshadowed only because of what happens after. You know, like I think if it wasn't measuring up to the next two albums we'll be talking about, it'd be a lot. It'd be perceived a lot better and talked about a lot more. You know, but because it's still like the first attempt at that sound that they just knock out of the park, you know, in the future, it's just not as mentioned as much and kind of forgotten. It was forgotten by me, so I will definitely be picking it up. And I think most importantly, it's Gojira transitioning from that lightly new metal tinge sound to what they actually became. Like their guitar riffs went from being groove oriented and like bouncy to more that elephant marching that you were talking about. Like yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because they bring it in on this album, and for the next one they just run with it. So
Yeah, they definitely. I feel like that's where they figured out their sound. It
mhm,
still wasn't as Gojira as their next album, which I think that came to define their sound, but that definitely
mhm.
from Terra Incognita to that one.
And then I want to say what's up to Jeff who just entered in, and look at this lineup right here. That's
Dang.
killer. Yeah, June
Wow,
of
that's
2016, and
huge.
I could see Gojira being the best. I've never seen Devin Townsend or Opeth, but I could see Gojira probably being the best of the bill.
I've seen Devin a couple times. He's really good live.
Okay.
He's an entertainer, I'll put it that way.
Well,
And
yeah,
actually,
his crowd banter is unbeatable, right?
yeah, the first time I should have seen Gojira was when they toured with Devin Townsend. And I didn't drive the 2 hours. It was before I was comfortable going to shows alone,
Oh yeah,
um, which I do that all the time now. Like if my friends don't go, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go.
dude.
But
Yep, you got to.
yeah, yeah. So I think
Uh,
the time I saw Wisdom Comes, I think was when they played at the Orange Peel,
okay.
if I'm not mistaken.
Damn, that's cool. that they brought out that song.
Yeah,
All right, let's see. So from the link, they end up signing to Prosthetic Records, and that takes us to 2000 and 2005, I believe. I'm checking
Yeah,
it. Yep,
2005.
2005, September 2005, and for a lot of people, this is when this Gojira enters. Right here, we got From Mars to Sirius, and this might be my favorite. I think this is my favorite album cover of theirs that they've done. Like,
Yeah.
it's so iconic at this point.
And it's simple and elegant.
Yeah, it just works perfectly. So yeah, this is a huge album for them. I guess I'll go ahead and dive in. Probably one of those where they released it and then they probably didn't get the recognition for it until later on into their career. You know, uh, this is a metal classic of the 2000s. Like, this is a modern metal classic. This will be heralded for, decades to come, I think, when people are like talking about, breakthrough metal releases of the 2000s. They got to mention this album right here. I mean, it's just amazing, and it really established their sound and established Gojira as a band. And yeah, Ben is in Nashville.
Indeed.
Yep. Just absolutely phenomenal. And it's one of those albums I didn't even like need to do notes or research or really. I listened to it multiple times, but just because like I wanted to, not because I felt obligated. You know, it's just such a great album. The opener, Ocean Planet, holy shit, that is one of the best opening songs ever. It just blows the doors down, and it's like Doom pacing, but not actually Doom. It's such a weird. It's Gojira are so cool that they're able to pull that off.
Yeah,
And
it is very doomy, just like
yeah,
it's slow, and that's not a fast song, but
no. And then it
massive.
builds to the middle part, which is just breakneck speed. And yeah, the production on here is absolutely massive. So you can tell that I think the band is still working in the studio they're involved in the process the whole time,
Right.
to get the exact sound that they want. And like, I never have any production issues with Gojira, and this is definitely a perfectly produced album for what they're doing. And this might be one of the strongest first halves of an album, period, that I can think of.
Yeah.
It's definitely front loaded to me. Ocean Planet, Backbone, heaviest
fucking bone.
back fucking bone, dude. And I absolutely love that tremolo riff that they play. It's like almost black metal, but still very melodic. Yeah. It's and holy shit, the drumming. Mario's drumming is just so. I guess it's kind of blast beats he's doing behind it, and it's the intensity of it and the drum production is perfect. Like,
incredible. The snare
incredible
sound alone,
yeah,
is just. It sounds live. That's one of the huge things. It sounds like you're watching that.
It's probably one of the better drum sounds on an album I can think.
Yeah,
of,
it's. I think it's they've refined their production, you could say, but that album has my favorite production. It's my favorite album from them. No, like bar none. Like there's
nice.
no holds. That is it. That is my favorite album and one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah, man, it's up there. It's got as I said, the first half of it is probably one of my favorite first half of any album, period. Like, up through Flying Whales, there's absolutely not a single misstep. I mean, Heaviest Matter of the Universe. Now that, dude, that's one of the best songs ever, period. Like, one of the best riff songs too. Like, and so there's the main riff, and you're like, wow, this main riff is so good. There's no way that it can get better. But then there's like a breakdown halfway through where they switch it up and it gets even more groovy, and it's yeah. You're like, how did they do that? It
Yeah.
boggles my mind, this songwriting, you know. And then at the very end, it kind of gets a little more progressive, and like I think they end up with like a tapping, like a rising tapping section. But yeah, Heaviest Matter of the Universe, one of my favorite songs. Flying Whales, I mean that's a classic, dude. Like
That's my
it's
go-to for like
beautiful. Yeah.
if do you want to like if someone wants to get into Gojira, that's usually where I send them because it's not their
Yes.
heaviest song, but that iconic
The build up, dude.
riff and the percussion to there, like the drums, and then once the guitars come in, that's one of the greatest riffs, one of the greatest sections of all time.
Yes. Like the whole build up to get to it when it finally comes in and it goes dun dun dun. Yeah.
Oh yes,
Right?
and it just doesn't get old. Every time I've heard that song, probably 100 times by now,
Likewise.
and they played it every time I've seen them live,
Yep.
and I'm just as excited to hear it every single time.
Yes. That's like this album, I have not tired of it. I could listen to it hundreds of times. Not that I'll put it on tomorrow probably. I mean
Yeah,
it has not worn out its welcome. And I think when you think of like that defining song for Gojira, Flying Whales, I think is it. I think that is like their calling card kind of for a song.
yeah,
So yeah, I definitely agree with introducing someone to this band with that song and probably with this album. Like I think this would be my choice for an introductory album. So then kind of to like start talking about the back half of the album, I think it does end up a little long for me. Like I start to kind of tire a little bit. Like In the Wilderness is cool, and there's that one guitar riff in like the second half of it, which just comes out of nowhere at like breakneck speed and awesome. Um, World to Come is also it's like their ballad of the album,
yeah.
and I really dig it. World to Come is awesome. Very chill vibe. Uh, Actually catchy too.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to the two title track songs, From Mars to Sirius, that might be the weakest song on the album for me. Is those two right there?
And I
Like,
feel like that's to me that's one song. It's kind of funny they made it into two.
yeah.
You know, that could have just been one song.
And maybe that's why I've always, you know, it took me the longest to click with, or it's still the one that I'm like, you know, I don't skip it, of course. It's still great. I mean, this album is so good. None of the songs are bad, but it's not the same quality of the first half to me. And then Global Warming is a great ending as well, but then once again, not the same quality of the first half. So great album. Nothing, yeah, I don't know, a classic for sure. Here, I'll let you dive in on your favorite Gojira album.
Yeah, I mean, just really continuing on what you said. And the first time I saw them live, contrary to what Setlist FM says, they did open up with Ocean Planet. First time I ever saw them live, which is kind of interesting because La Font Sauvage had come out. That was their last album to come out. And, you know, I was there and they played a little sound clip, sound bite, whatever. And this was when I was living down in Orlando, and it was at some festival that had like Puddle of Mud was one of the openers.
Oh
Just
God, was this when they started playing like those Blue Ridge Rock Fest, like the Red State, like?
I'm not sure. It wasn't. It was right when I was starting to get back into going to shows,
Okay.
but like right after I started dating my now wife, And so we go to see Gojira, and you know the whale sound at the beginning of the album. They played that, and they were like, immediately was like, are they really going to open up with Ocean Planet? And sure enough, and as soon as they started, as soon as those first few notes hit, I was just blown away with how good it sounded. Like perfectly tight. The live mix was there. And that just, you know, they were probably my favorite band at the time, or one of them. And once that hit, once within a few seconds, it's like, well, this is it. This is the best live band I've ever seen. And to this day, they are definitely a top 3 live band.
Live show? Wow.
Phenomenal.
That's crazy.
Seeing them open up with that was just amazing. That Elephant March sound, the drum production, and then that ending of that song is just insane. With that final riff with the pick scrape, it's like how they're going to open up with that song, and one would think, oh, there's no way they can keep this momentum up, you know, especially after that final riff, like dun. But then they go straight into Backbone, and
what a combo right there!
Like really, like now we're going to Backbone, and
they did that live. They did that live too.
No, they went to
something. Oh, okay,
live,
this is.
But I've seen Backbone. I think again, that's when they've played every time I've seen them live, which is 4 times. And that breakdown on that song, I get teared up. It's so heavy, but it brings tears to my eyes when they play that.
Because of how heavy it is, you're like, man, I'm getting a little emotional. The sheer weight of the sound.
It's so heavy, and it's uplifting at the same time. They're able to just, I think that is where they really started to show how uplifting they can be. A band that's extremely heavy, and yet just they don't, you know, it's not like they don't make you want to go conquer some village. No,
it's not power metal. You know, we're not talking about Halloween shit or.
Yeah, it's just like, wow, this makes me just want to be a better person.
Yeah, they're
cheesy
not dwelling
as that sounds. So yeah.
No, I get it though. They're not dwelling in negativity, like where the energy that they're putting out is not like to bring up your shirt. It's not primitive man. You don't feel like a shell of a human after you listen to it. You know.
Yeah,
it's definitely uplifting. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and then we kind of get a break from it, you know, from the sky. It's like a little break from that 1-2 combo of Ocean Planet and Backbone, and then the little unicorn. That's a cool. Well, and then again the interlude, and then Where Dragons Dwell. That one always had a really special place in my heart because I got in this band when I was in the Marines, and I was not happy there.
Mm-hmm.
But something about that song always just brought me out of the funk and gave me something to look forward to.
You were able to find a solace in the music and kind of like.
Yeah, and that's From Mars to Sirius really did that for me. They were so huge for me in a time of negativity, a time where I was just not happy with my lot in life, which will become a trend down the road with Gojira.
So you said this was your first Gojira album that you got?
Yeah, it's the first one I really started listening to.
Yeah, when out of curiosity, when did you first hear it?
2009, I want to say.
Wow, yeah.
It was, so The Way of All Flesh was already out.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that was 2008, so yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked that one, but From Mars to Sirius, that one just clicked with me from the beginning. Especially, you know, Ocean Planet, Backbone, Heaviest Matter, Whales, they just all really clicked with me. And yeah, one of my favorite albums of all time to this day. And I think one of the most important albums in heavy music history.
Yes. That's fucking awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then like you're saying, World to Come was cool, kind of rock and roll. From Mars to Sirius was, I think it was kind of like the lower point of the album. And Global Warming was another one that really clicked with me then. It's when I started kind of becoming a little more aware of environmental issues and whatnot, not to get all political, but that one, the first time I heard it, I actually listened to it like 3 times in a row. Just went back and listened to it again. And if you haven't seen the live in the studio version of that, it's really good. Highly recommend checking that out. Whenever I listen to that album, I actually usually turn that one on. So like once
you'll pause the album.
Yeah, I'll pause the album, turn on YouTube, and just listen to it from there. So yeah. Not enough can be said about that album. It is a 10 out of 10 album. Just perfect.
Sweet.
Perfectly. Everything about it was spot on.
I love throwing that number around. 10 out of 10. That's
and that's there are only a few albums that I'd say that about, and that's one.
Yeah. And that's why it's like it makes it special when you do say it, because there's not many that can, for me it's not quite a 10 out of 10, but there is one I'll be one of their albums that I do give that rating. We'll get to it. Let's see. Anything else about this?
I mean, I think that's it. We could do a whole podcast on that album, or a whole stream on that album. But
I agree. I'm glad you brought up that live performance of Global Warming, because that actually, for the longest time, Global Warming didn't, like, I liked it, but it didn't really click with me. But then seeing that live performance really, like, the weight and like the sadness of the song kind of hit,
Yeah, and that's where they kind of started their environmentally themed songs. Yeah, that's kind of where they really started going strong with that. But it never felt political. That's what I really liked about them, was that it didn't feel political and like that's it. Like some political statement or whatever. It's just, hey, take care of the earth,
Exactly. It's coming at it from more of like a hippie vibe than one of like nihilism and that's what I mean. Like they're more of a hopeful band, whereas like, once again, to bring up Cattle Decapitation, they're all like, oh, we're already doomed. Humanity is a cancer. Everything needs to burn.
Or Primitive Man, same.
Or Primitive,
just negative, like fuck humanity.
And I think, if ever like conservation and like this concept comes up in metal, it's typically from that space of like fuck humanity and people equal shit, to throw in a Slipknot reference.
Yeah.
But Gojira never did that. They were, as I said, more hopeful and like, let's just save the earth, man. Let's let's talk about it and bring shine a light on the issues and what's actually happening. Like their big, conservation of the sea. I think we're going to talk about a song on the next album where they talk about that the garbage island.
Yeah.
And like they had actual things that they wanted to talk about. And even their newest one, they're highlighting more indigenous people and the plight that they're going through in certain areas, and especially into Amazon, like the Amazon rainforest and stuff.
Right.
So,
but it never feels. When bands get political, I'm like, all right, I'm out. I don't want to hear this, but Gojira never felt that way. Just
You're right.
genuine. They
Talking
want to,
about it.
yeah, they love to see humanity succeed in the greatest way.
Yep. And seeing live, they kind of carry that message through too.
Right.
Seeing them live. So it's across the board. The band is definitely genuine. Jeff, thanks for hanging, man. I'll do my best to check out Miles Davis deep dive. Though I've never listened to Miles Davis, so I guess I'm screwing up.
Me either.
All right, so from perfect album. 2005, we're going to 2008. They are still on Prosthetic Records, and we got The Way of All Flesh. And as I said, this is the first album I got because of the song Vacuity. I don't know.
Vacuity. I don't know. I think it's vacuity. Maybe.
It was a new word for me to learn for sure.
Great song though.
Oh yeah, and this is probably a great first album to kind of dive into because I think you mentioned that you thought it was more of their like technical direction, but then at the same time, I think there's a little more progressive elements as well, and it makes certain tracks a little bit more digestible. A little easier to get into. Like opening song Ouroboros with that picking, like the hand,
the tapping.
That's the tapping, yeah.
Or maybe it's actually I never learned to play it, but yeah.
Not a guitarist here at all, so I have no idea. I just
another classic
little fingering thing.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, one sec. But yeah, that's a great opening.
So when I saw them,
my girlfriend's trying to talk. My girlfriend's trying to call me real quick.
I'll just hop into it then. I'll take the baton.
There we go.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
So yeah, Ouroboros is one of my favorite openings to their album.
There's your cat.
Yeah. So when I saw them at the Orange Peel, which is probably my favorite time to see them, they opened up with that, which is cool because again, it wasn't too long after Magma came out. But it's just a great opener to an album, and love the tapping riffs. And then once they go into Toxic Garbage Island, I actually did a school project on that when I was in college doing scuba diving. That was one of my electives. So I did a project on microplastics and the garbage island. So that was, I started the presentation with a bunch of slides of pictures of ocean garbage, and I had the song going on in the background, which is kind of cool to slip some metal in there, and then I ended the presentation just with their some quotes from the song, specifically "Plastic Bag in the Sea." And yeah,
what an ending right there.
Which another one, it's great to see live, just seeing how aggressive that is. I definitely got a more aggressive feel out of this album. Gojira is pretty uplifting, but I feel like this is an angry album, at least from what I hear. This is a lot of the songs are pretty aggressive and angry towards the whole plight of humanity or the earth, what have you. Especially that in Toxic Garbage Island. So it's just kind of, and then Sight to Behold is another one that's pretty aggressive with the environmental themes.
That one's their most progressive sounding. Don't they use a little vocoder action or something on the vocals?
Yeah, I kind of That's the first time I think they kind of started using more vocal effects.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't do that. Didn't really do that in other songs, but that was cool to see them do that.
Yeah, I mean that song, and then what about that Randy Blythe guest appearance? That Randy Blythe guest spot in
Yeah,
what is it? Adoration for None.
Adoration for None. Yeah,
That might be their most pissed off song on the album. I feel like that one, or maybe All the Tears.
yeah. It's an angrier album,
Hmm.
um, and I think that's the one where they really just kind of calling people out. I guess like, hey, take care of the earth, motherfuckers.
Recycle, bitch.
Yeah. So
Don't contribute to the garbage island.
right,
Do your best not to.
and that one has one of my favorite songs, "The Art of Dying," which I haven't seen him play it live yet. And
They might. I hope they do for you.
how was that live? You got to see it live. I want to hear about how that was because I've been hoping. 4 times I've seen them. Every time,
Yep.
that's
You're like,
that. At this point, that's the one song I want to see live. Seen a bunch of their. I've seen them all at this point, but that's the one I
except,
want to see.
yep. It, dude. I mean, it was amazing. It delivered. Like. I don't want to dive too much into the track itself, but like that crazy part in the beginning where it's almost like just chaos, and like it feels like a storm, like you're trapped in a storm. That just carries through amazing live. You're just like buffeted around by the opening part, and then when it finally gets to that riff, dude, I wish they could have just played that riff for the rest of the concert, like the final that final half of Art of Dying.
Yeah.
Man, what is it? How does it go? You do. I think you do better at recreating like how a song sounds than me. But it's like the da 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 da.
Yeah,
That yeah,
and they do a little hammer on. Yeah,
yeah.
that
Just enough variety.
yeah.
It
When
was
it's
amazing.
that's one of their perfect songs from the beginning with the percussion and
Wow.
the way they
Yeah.
can carry that groove. They're just playing one note, just you know, they just keep playing that and building it and building it and building it.
Yep. And as you said, it's simple, but they're doing so much over top that you know.
That's where Mario really shines. Like,
Probably one of Mario's best drum performances, man. Like that's yeah, I agree. What a song.
yeah, and they kind of I feel like they start to lose momentum after that. Uh, Esoteric Surgery or Esoteric Surgery. That's on an otherwise angry, kind of heavier album, except for Art of Dying. I feel like that one's pretty uplifting, but I think that's one of their most uplifting songs they've written. It just has
Huh.
I don't know. It kind of has a positive feel to it.
I guess I can see that. It's it's a riff fest for me. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And Vacuity, that has such a great build up. It kind of starts pretty slow, pretty kind of like, okay, what's going on here? But then the ending of it just comes out and just blows you away.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear like it's that mid-paced '90s death metal sound in the beginning, where it's like the doom, doom, and I love that riff change up at the end.
And then yeah, what was it? The last one's Wolf.
Wolf Down the Earth.
Yeah, that one's cool, but that one just never really didn't click with me super hard.
Yeah, that's when it's like it's hard to follow up. Like after a song like Art of Dying, it's hard not to feel, you know, like the stuff that follows after is kind of in the shadow of that track.
Right. Which is like you were saying before, Gojira, they've they come in strong a lot of times, and they kind of taper down towards the end. Still a great album. I love Way of All Flesh. It's a really good album. It's, I think, Gojira at their angriest, which they're not. To me, they're not really an angry band.
Yeah.
But that one definitely came across as pretty aggressive and angry.
Yeah, it's funny because I opened up saying that this was a little more like digestible, but you're right, it is an angry album. And I think it's kind of easier to get into because of the first three songs, right? Like Ouroboros is a little more straightforward and simple. Amazing, tapping section and just melody that carries throughout. And A Sight to Behold, as I said, is a little more straightforward and like toned down as far as their songs go. And that makes Toxic Garbage Island like the perfect middleman for that combo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this album's backbone and heaviest matter of the universe. It's that for this album.
There he
so
is.
The opening three songs. Oh yeah. So which one? Who is this?
This is Henrik.
Henrik.
Yeah, he's probably gonna try to get on the laptop. Hope he's
of course
turn it off.
I feel like sometimes cats do this on purpose. Like
it's like they're jealous.
Yeah, like literally before the stream, I went in and was like trying to get my cats to come out because it's like I know you guys are gonna be dicks at the door and just meow the whole time, and they're like, no, we want to stay inside. You go out, do your thing, and then as soon as I hit record, they're at the door. Fucking
bastards.
Yeah, totally.
Man, funny.
So hate them and love them at the same time.
Completely side story with this guy, though.
Yeah, do it.
So I had to run some errands early this morning, and I had my coffee out there, and it hit hard. So on the drive home, I was wondering if I was going to make it. It's like I gotta go now, and so like drive up my driveway, start running in the house, and my neighbors start talking to me, and I'm trying to be polite, but I'm like, I have to get in there. I have seconds. So I finally get in there. I make it, and then
good job.
Yeah. And then Henrik, the kitty cat, decides it's his time too. And because we've got his litter boxes in there. And I see him start to come out of there, and he has shit coming, like stuck on him. And it's like on his side, like he rolled in it, and it was like bad. So before he could go and get on the bed or anything, I like mid shit jump up, grab him, and like I'm trying to wipe it off. And I guess he ate some grass, so I had to pull grass out of
his ass.
Yeah, like out of his ass, and ended up just throwing him in the shower because he was like covered. And so yeah, it was, and he hated it. He's howling, meow, meow. So went in there and took a shower with him. He's all mad.
He seems like he's forgiven you now.
Oh, he forgave me right away.
At the very least, yeah.
But yeah,
we have a cat like that who doesn't know how to pinch his shit. He doesn't know how to like cut off the end.
So he drags it out.
It just drags it out, and he will come up to you and be like, "I'm just gonna sit right here on your white pants," and then.
Oh man! Okay.
And there's a nice stripe down your leg after that. So yeah, love to the pets.
Yeah, they're. Yep, here. I don't know why we do it sometimes.
But then there's times it makes sense.
Exactly.
Like right now, they're both like asleep and fucking cute as ever. But oh yeah, so the first opening part to this album, to me, is kind of super easy to get into. But then you get immediately to the angry section of the album that you were talking about, like Yama's Messenger. Like that song and All the Tears are probably some of their most intense. Like it would be close to, they'd be a close contender with what Wisdom Comes as their most extreme songs. I feel like because they're just straight death metal. You know,
Yeah,
it's
Yama's is
yeah.
such a sick riff, and like the double bass, the drums on that are just relentless, just so pummeling.
And once again, I just want to highlight the production because of that production, it separates out like the double bass, like you can hear it so clearly, just pummeling and the guitar riff. You know, it really separates out the instruments when you're listening to it, and you're able to really pick out everything that Mario is doing.
Yeah, well, they're a drum band.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Oh,
gonna let the dog out real quick.
the cone is back. I'll keep going.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him out.
All right.
Yeah, I guess we're on to Le Fond, or
Le Fond.
maybe we'll close.
Is that how you say it? Le Fond?
That's how I've heard them say it. Le Fond Sauvage. So,
Wow. I'm like the L'Infant Savage.
L'Infant
L'Infant
Savage.
L'Infant Savage. It's my favorite album.
I'll be back in a couple minutes though.
All right, dude. I'll keep going. All right, yeah. So to talk about this album just a little bit longer while Ben's off doing his thing, uh, "The Art of Dying" is that's my favorite Gojira song. Period. It's a masterpiece from the buildup of the drums on the tabula. I believe that's what Mario is using to make that intro to the actual start of the song, and then how the song flows. It's just amazing because it goes from it flows in three parts, right? It starts with a crazy, like very dissonant and off kilter first section, which very fast. The drumming is like always offbeat. You just feel like you're trapped in a storm of stress and anxiety. And then it gets to the second section, which is a little bit bigger. It's still fast and furious, and it's got some of my favorite lyrics too. So I want to read. I want to read that real quick. This album might actually have some of my favorite lyrics. All right. It says, "I won't bring material in the afterlife. Take no possessions. I would rather travel light. I'm of this kind that kills all day, but I don't know yet how to die." And then he goes into "Art of Dying is the way to let it all go. Within I practice the secret of my soul." I don't know. Those are some lyrics that stick with me for sure. And specifically just talking about a person's relationship with death and coming to terms with what death is. And that is almost the most important thing for every single person in life is their relationship with death. And kind of understanding that, and that it's a continuous changing thing as as you live, understanding what death means to you, you know. um and then it goes to the final section, which is the best guitar riff ever, one of them. I mean, I gotta calm myself down a little bit, but the final half of the song is just the cathartic release, and it is beautiful, epic, and yeah, absolutely crushing. And then Esoteric Surgery, that's actually a favorite song of mine. I'm still talking about this album over here.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
It's a good one,
dude. Esoteric Surgery. That's actually one of my favorite songs on the album. I'll have to listen to it again to see the positivity, but the main thing I hear is the guitar riff. Like it's one of their best riff songs, I think.
Yeah, well, it's like the intro lyric. You have the power to heal yourself. It's just it's a healing kind of song, you know.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
So maybe that's where I get
lyrically.
it. Like maybe like it's great riffs, great writing, but it just seemed like it was kind of
and it because you're right. It says you have the power to heal yourself, and then all illness can be healed the cell regenerates. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very,
Okay.
and it's the you have the power to heal yourself is repeated throughout the song. So
I get
you know,
that
all
now.
illness can be healed. It's very just and then it ends with overcoming all circumstances, release the pain. It just has a very positive message to it, which is good because, like I was saying before, Way of All Flesh is a pretty overall.
It
It's a
is.
little like it's an angrier album for Gojira.
Hmm. But yeah, so I will. Yeah, the lyrics are really great. But while you were out, was walking the dog, I was reading the middle section to the Art of Dying because that's some of my favorite lyrics there, where he's talking about I won't take no possessions. I'd rather travel light. Like
Yeah,
that shit gives me goosebumps every time, man. Uh, and then for me, it I think you kind of touched on this. It ends on a little bit of a like I kind of check out after vacuity. It's like Wolf Down the Earth is cool, but it kind of occupies the same space as All the Tears and Yama's Messengers, except not as good probably because it's at the end of the album. And then The Way of All Flesh is maybe my least favorite song on the album, the final
yeah.
song. Like
I
it's
would agree with you there. It's
yeah, it's the most forgettable. Like I'm trying to remember it, and I think they used a little bit of vocal effects on the ending, but other than that, I can't remember too much about like what actually going on during that song. So, wow, this is definitely a very important album for me. The first album I got from Gojira, and really one of those that helped teach me how to listen to like extreme music, and extreme metal. So definitely a lot of respect to this one. And then from there, they switch labels. They go from Prosthetic to Roadrunner Records, and this is when I'm actually now aware of the band and anticipating their albums. So
yeah, that's funny. We have a pretty similar journey because
yeah,
that's the first album that I heard as a fan. So I was,
as it was being released, yeah,
like I'd gotten into them, I'd listened to all their stuff, but it's like now I have something to look forward to. And kind of back to my theme of how their albums have been impactful to me. That came out right about the time I got out of the military. So I was like,
hmm,
really had something to look forward to. And L'Enfant
wow,
Sauvage, it means wild child. So it was
yeah,
like, it's this way of me, like, I get to be free again. I get to be this wild child. And, I'm
wow,
not, I can, I'm not structured. I don't have to do everything people say. I can be me again. I can grow my hair out if I want or fucking smoke weed. And I'm
yeah,
not, and it's not, I'm no longer a military member. I'm not owned by the government. I mean, we all are, I guess, but whatever. You know what I mean? It's like
to
I'm not
different
no
degrees, yeah,
yeah, I'm not my life isn't signed away anymore. And
because
so
I have not been in the military, so I have no idea. But was it a little bit like your identity was kind of gone, or like
I never let it happen, but there's so many
that's
people.
what they
It's more
wanted?
yeah, being surrounded around people who that's like their whole identity. And it's yeah, it's I would I'm not
Because
trying to
it's
talk
so rigid,
yeah, I'm not
It's
trying to talk it down. I think it was a very important pivotal part of my life. And I would never discourage someone from
yeah,
joining the service. That's great. I think I would encourage people to do it to really get a taste of what that's like and see what military members go through. And it's not, everyone's not a bunch of crazy baby killers and all that.
no, yeah,
It's like I was just a kid that made a decision, and then later on, it's like
you just knew it wasn't you, I guess.
exactly, it just wasn't for me. And yeah, L'Enfant Sauvage, um, that being like the wild child and being free. It was a very freeing album to me, and I think it's one of their most positive albums. Um,
Yeah.
One of my favorite. I absolutely love this album. Um, the beginning, Explosia, like it's really cool. And I should have
Sorry.
bought it. I should have bought it the other day, man.
I
I'm going back to the store. I'm going back tomorrow. I'm gonna buy it. That's it. I need it.
fuck yeah, dude. Sorry, this is the only one I have on vinyl, so I've been
I
holding
need to
off
get it. I have
to show it.
crazy thing. I don't have. Oh, I have Fortitude, but
Okay.
I didn't start my vinyl addiction um until
Relatively recent, right?
yeah, a few years ago. Like Magma had already come out, so um otherwise I would have bought. I have a bunch. Like I want Mars to Sirius. I want that. Those are the two I really want. Um
Yeah.
yeah. But that album, it comes out with the opener, and I don't know about you, but when it goes to that slower sound with the kind of guitar effects, I almost felt like a Western vibe to it.
Oh.
I don't know. I felt like kind of cowboy, had this like Western.
Like kind of like the swagger kind of to it. Like
Yeah, when it comes out like the bow, bow, bow. Dun dun
mhm.
dun 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 dun.
Huh.
And
Yeah.
I've got this, you know, American Western feel out of it, which no one else I've talked to has agreed there or has gotten that, but that's kind of
I'll
what
I'll have to listen to it again, but that was not a conclusion that I came to for sure on while listening to it.
I don't know why, but
I,
that's what I
that's so
got from
cool,
it.
man. Yeah.
And then going into La Femme Sauvage, which is definitely a top track for me. That song,
Yeah.
it's so uplifting. It's so encouraging. And I don't know, did you see them play that live?
No. I was super bummed about this because they only played one song off this album live, so I was a little disappointed about that. But I mean, still amazing show. But yeah, no L'Enfant Sauvage.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've listened to their live albums, but usually they talk about that. They introduce that song as like they talk about the song. There's something inside of you, the wildness, the child, and it's the most important part, and you have to protect that. And I just feel like we all get bogged down
Man,
with life, and that song it encourages you to just be a kid again. Just love just being a
dude, that's
wild
beautiful.
child, running around in the woods, just like not being ashamed. And
Being who you are, essentially at your core, right? Like that's
right,
yeah.
exactly. And then the
I
lyrics
love
to that
that.
song too are just amazing. And everything about that song is perfect. It's the part where they go into I guess like what would be the breakdown, and he like, screams that part: anger, lies, denial,
Yeah,
and that part just brings
like
goosebumps to
this
me every
righteous
time.
anger boiling inside of us. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like he talks about anger, but it's just
it's the cathartic healing. It's like the healing energy of it, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like being
it's
frustrated that we can't embrace being just these kids that know no shame, these innocent kids. We can go run around on the beach naked or whatever, like whatever it
yeah.
may be. Just
It's I don't want to like go off on a side tangent too much, but it's funny like the themes and kind of where this energy is coming from is almost a little similar to Yob, right? Like that. Which, by the
obviously,
way,
I love y'all.
I did notice the Atma in the background, dude. Like it took me a little bit to realize that was the repress, but
Currently, my
yes,
favorite band. Like
yeah. I mean, for me too, definitely up there. But like, just Yob always had that same energy of like we have to dig through like kind of like the hurt and damage that like to try to be an adult in life. You you lose a lot of connection to that free spirit, that inner child that they're talking about, and you really need to like dig through to get back to it. And I think Yob and Gojira on this album, I agree, are really focused on you know bringing that up, or being in tune with who you really are, and like being connected with your fellow man at the most basic level.
Yeah. And that's something both of those bands, I haven't heard, can't think of any bands off the top of my head that are heavy and uplifting quite like
Exactly.
Yob and Gojira. It's,
They go together.
yeah, and I don't think there are a lot of people that don't get that, whether they listen to Yob or Gojira. They're just like, oh fuck yeah, it's fucking metal, bro. But
It's
Gojira,
about so much more than
it's
that.
so heavy, not just in the musical sense, but like emotional and spiritual. Like whatever your religious beliefs or whatever may be. Um, like it's just there's a certain spiritual aspect to Gojira that just taps into that primitive nature, and just I don't know. They're a
It's
very
cool.
uplifting band. So
Agreed. But sorry, I think I derailed your
oh no, that
album
was
discussion.
I love I love a good derailment. Right? And then where were we? The Axe. Yeah. Um, I think that's one where they really mature into their songwriting, where they have a really defined chorus and verse. And they dabbled with it before, but I think that song is probably the first one they really nailed it. You know what I mean? Like going from kind of a riffier metal band, and that's one where they matured a lot in that one, and that whole album overall. It's a pretty big change, but
Yeah.
one of my favorite changes. I Going from The Way of All Flesh to L'Enfant Sauvage was one of probably my favorite transition in their songwriting. And then Liquid Fire, another one. It's another uplifting one, and that when he says, "We're in this alone, we bow to no one." This is one of those albums that just they come out with the riffs and the lyrics and those one lines that just are
Stick to you.
so positive and just make you want to just go and make the world a better place through metal.
I will recycle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, and then we got the interlude and everything, which is classic Gojira. Going into Planned Obsolescence, which was actually a really heavy track. It's because before that they weren't as heavy. They had heavy riffs, but it was more, a lot more clean vocals, a lot more, happy. That one just comes out of nowhere and like, hey, we're Gojira. We still got the heavy riffs. Let's fucking go.
I'll be right back. Bathroom break for me. Keep going.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll be there before too long.
Yeah.
And The Mouth of Kala, that was cool, but I feel like that's probably the low point of the album for me. I can't think of it off the top of my head like a lot of the other songs on the album. But going into Gift of Guilt, which I think is one of the best closing songs. I've seen them close with that, I think twice when I saw them live. And it's just such a perfect song to close with. The beginning of it is great with the tapping. Um, it's really heavy, but it's got a good structure to it. I think one of their kind of underrated, under listened to songs because it's kind of in a weird place in the album, I guess. And then they go heavy again in a song after that, Pain is a Master. And I enjoy that one a lot. And so, yeah, so I was just talking about a Gift of Guilt, which,
dude,
I think it's one of the best songs. It's one of their songs I don't think gets enough recognition. I love the beginning and the way it ends, where it's just like you were saying on Art of Dying. The ending of that song, I feel like it could just go on forever.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that last riff at the very end is insane. Which that's how they closed the live set when I saw them. Was the Gift of Guilt. So hopefully them doing that on this tour, that song will get more of the recognition it deserves, because I think it's definitely one of the best, maybe.
Yeah, well, I want to say
on the album, like in the top 3 on this album. But they're yeah, I'll get to it in a sec.
Yeah, I think they've closed with that when I saw them. Again, I need to look up. I should have looked up to see what their set list was, but I'm almost positive I've seen them close with this. But I've also listened to the live album, like a few of their live albums, and I think they closed on that with L'Enfant Sauvage's, the live album.
Yeah, which I have to check that out. You mentioned it to me. I gotta check that one out.
Yeah, they closed with that on the live album. Which if you like this album, that's a good one, because it's a lot of songs from that album. And it's just there was a time when I was listening to that album, that live album, a ton, and that was just my go-to because it had all my favorite songs on it, including Wisdom Comes. So it's just like the ultimate pre-Magma set list, I would say. But yeah, getting back to it, see where were we? It's at Born in Winter, or no, Pain is Master. And again, that's another one where they come out just swinging, like we're still Gojira. We can still write heavy stuff. And I don't remember a ton about that particularly, except that it was just a heavy song. And then Born in Winter. Those are really good, like more of almost an epic kind of song. And not like it's just kind of more intricate structure. And then The Fall, it was, I don't know, I like that one, but I feel like it was not as good of an ending. Like if they ended the album with Gift of Guilt, I think that would have been the album closer for me. But that's kind of, maybe that's just how I feel. Like that song is one of those songs that could go on forever and just kind of fade out.
Yeah.
But overall, really, really good album from them. Kind of, I liked Way of All Flesh a lot, but this was the one that really, really made me, kind of fall in love with them.
Yeah, because as you said, it's cool that this was both of our albums that we were like actually aware of the band, and there's something to be said for like anticipating the release of an album. You get to hear the single, you're like just replaying that, which I remember was L'Enfant Sauvage, I think was the first song they released for it.
Yeah.
And that one was definitely in heavy rotation for me in 2012, like leading up to the actual, drop of this album. And then like on release day, like you're making a special trip, like first thing in the morning to. For me, it was like Best Buy. I think I probably went to pick up this thing, like 9 a.m. on the way to. I was in college and no, actually wrapping up high school in 2012. So I was uh yeah on the way to class, going and picking up this album to listen to it. So man, this is a deeply nostalgic album for sure. Makes me think of, as far as seasons go, it feels very warm and lush, and it's one of those that I kind of tend to pull for like summertime. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I the positive vibe. I agree with this album. But you can tell it's a bit of a departure, and they're really trying to incorporate a more atmospheric sound and like a more like a almost prettier kind of beautiful atmospheric sound too. Like every single song has those guitar melodies that are like just kind of drenched in their uh, yeah, very very beautiful. But the whole time that the guitar melody is happening, there's like intense double bass underneath it, and it's still straight up heavy, straight up metal, and the classic Gojira sound. Like it's not the stripped down, more commercial sound that they're going to come into on their next album. It's still that original, more extreme sound underneath, but they're still delivering like this beautiful vibe. And to me, the Axe is the song that delivers that the most. Um, Probably, I think that's my favorite song on the album. It just comes barreling in with just a really just beautiful tremolo picked
Yeah.
riff, and in the middle part of the song, there's uh like it's almost like kind of a breakdown part. There's this melody that just gets pounded in, and I think this might actually be my favorite drum performance from Mario too. On songs like dude, Liquid Fire, he plays this ride, this ride beat, this beat on the ride cymbal, which almost sounds like melodious. Like it sounds like a catchy line. Like it's actually a hook that's only on this ride. And yeah, Liquid Fire is a top-notch song too.
I'll have to
Uh,
listen. Like, I have to listen to it, focusing on the drums. I'm taking notes on your notes, so I'm gonna go
yeah.
back and listen to all of that. 'Cause this is another one I think is just
Mhm.
about a perfect album from them, if not
For
perfect.
me,
Just
yeah, for me, it's perfect. It's their 10 out of 10. Like I think because it's their sound perfectly balanced. They've got the beauty down, and it sounds vulnerable and uplifting, and like it really human. It's their most human sounding album, I would say. But then
I
at the
love that.
same
Yeah,
time, it's still fucking brutal and heavy and just pissed off and angry. Like planned obsolescence is just insane. Another Mario drum performance, right? Like, there's that like crazy drum fill like halfway through where it's double
yeah.
bass and it goes like da 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 da, and it's like a weird staggered fill to get back into the song. I love planned obsolescence because then it stops and you think it's over, and then it comes back in at the very end with like another intense part of it. And
Yeah. This is. I think it's really good. To talk about the drumming, it's I kind of thinking back to it. It's one of my favorite ones because it's really good, but it's where he kind of figures out where to reserve himself, and he'll just play these like really insane fills, but then he'll just play a groove again,
yes,
or like crazy fast parts. But he doesn't just like, oh look, I'm just gonna like do the most insane double bass and play these blast beats for 5 minutes like a black metal drummer. I'm just gonna throw it in there super quick and then
then go
go
right
back to,
back to the
and then like,
groove,
wait, go back to that. Just kind
which
of like he's like, what's up? Yeah, I can play drums.
dude, that's exactly it. He's so in control of what he wants to do. And to me, this is highlighted in Mouth of Kala, which second favorite song on the album is that one. I
Really,
uh I
I was
absolutely love the Mouth of Kala. Like, to me, that's the best Meshuggah song that Meshuggah didn't write. Honestly, that's probably what Meshuggah wants to sound like. I really love Meshuggah, but like, man, Mouth of Kala, the groove on that one is just phenomenal. And to me, it's all because of Mario, because he's playing this intense double bass that's just going nonstop, but the whole time he's got this hi hat like that's just kind of centering you, and it's very simple, but oh man, the double bass is so amazing. Yeah,
I'll
I
have to
love I
listen to
love
that one
Mouth of
again
Kala.
because
Yeah,
that's I that I felt like that was a lower point for me on the album, but I'll have to go back to and listen to that.
really, yeah,
Yeah, here we go. The disagreements begin.
yes. Dude, what do you mean? Are you kidding?
That's you. I'm coming to Charlotte
Jesus
right now.
Christ! You got to come over here and jam this thing. But no, yeah, it's and then how it ends is awesome too, because it's got like this breakdown section where the double bass is just going nonstop, but then at the same time they're throwing in this beautiful guitar melody over top, like making it atmospheric and really hammering in the sound that they want on this album. And then we already talked about Gift of Guilt. I mean, that yeah, third favorite song on the album after Mouth of Kala. uh Probably their catchiest song for me, period. Like, that chorus, that has lived in my brain rent free. Uh,
Yeah,
and then I
that's so
actually,
good. It's like
yeah,
when they go in the tapping and then the riff
these
after that, like
and then like these
boom,
vultures from the past. Oh yeah,
just like
yeah.
it's the tapping kind of pretty thing, and then they go straight into one of their elephant
Yep.
marching riffs.
And I love how they change up the riff too, right? Because it's like the da 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 da, da, and then bum 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 bum. You know, like
Yeah,
they,
it's like yeah,
yeah,
like
like they make it more interesting. You know, like
yeah,
it's already killer, and then they just throw in that little like fill before going right back into it. The Gift of Guilt is a master class,
yeah. I absolutely love that one.
and then Pain is the Master. You hit nail on the head with that for sure. Born in Winter is definitely like a little sneak peek of where they're probably gonna go. I like it on the album. I think it fits. It's but they still have like the heaviness to it at the end. You know, like it still kind of comes back in and fits in the context of the album with the second half of the song.
Right.
And
It's a more complex.
mhm,
It's
it's not simple.
right.
And then I really like The Fall. Like, it's not like a top song for the album, but I think it ends it well. It doesn't end it perfectly, but it ends it pretty well. And yeah, there's just that one riff in The Fall, which kind of kills it for me. So yeah, this is a 10 out of 10. Probably one of the most important albums, just as a fan of metal and being able to anticipate the release of an album and go there on release day to buy it, and then just being able to kind of feel like I'm growing with the band, like I'm seeing the changes that they're doing, and I'm appreciating and loving the changes, and it's making me listen to different like sonic textures, like I think there's definitely some, I want to say, like post metal influence on here because of like them catering towards atmosphere and like melody that's more in the background versus the foreground. It's a cool album. So
Yeah. It's the one where they I feel like they departed from being didn't departure, but they added on to being just a riff band.
yes,
Because before this they were very riff oriented. They had a few like melodic parts, but this is the one that they really realized their melodic potential. And I think this is the one where they did it the best, where they were able to
yep,
balance the riffs and the melodies,
yep.
and in a way I don't think they've done since.
I absolutely agree. I mean, to me, this is their sound in the most cohesive package right here.
Yeah.
Like and I think that's why I like it too, because it doesn't overstay its welcome either, because it's only about 50 minutes, where some of their other albums are, past an hour. So
Yeah. You're right. It does not drag on. Some of their other albums they go on for a bit. This one does not.
yeah, I mean, like when this one wraps up, and even Mars is serious, though not as bad, but when Wave All Flesh ends, I'm like, oh,
All right.
like I'll probably hit play again, but at the same time, I'm kind of relieved. But this is good all the way through. So
Which version, which pressing is that?
I it's Roadrunner Records. I believe this is the one that was put out when it came out. This is a used bin find, actually.
But what you got there? What's the color?
Oh,
of
it's just black, unfortunately. But I mean, like, I really like the quality of the pressing. Like, it's heavyweight, and
It's a double, isn't it?
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Double, I believe 33 RPM. Or it might be 45.
It's probably 33. 45s, it's like I only have two of those. They're
That's almost a little annoying, right? You're like, it's been 2 songs. I have to flip
yeah,
it over again.
Yeah.
It's only been 8 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I've got a Portrayal of Guilt album that's 45, and then that Lumber album.
Yeah. Oh, that's 45.
That's a 45. Which that was a cool listen. That was a
dude, sweet. Glad you liked it or checked it out. It's different. It's different from one
cheers.
more.
That's
Cheers.
so funny that we picked the same beer.
Dude, it was literally
like no discussion beforehand.
Nope. It was literally the first thing I thought of, and I didn't know they made it out that far as with their distribution, because they are more like east.
Yeah, well, Asheville, we're a bunch of assholes with our beer. So, like, and funny, I mean, this is like one of the few things I could find that wasn't an IPA.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I mean, I'll drink IPAs every now and then, but definitely not my go-to.
No, especially if you're on a stream and you're probably going to drink like 3 of them or 4 of them.
Yeah, I'd be like, by the time we got to Magma, I'd be Magma in my chair, just like melting away.
Yeah, no. Asheville prides themselves on their craft beer, so there's a lot of beer snobbery up there, for sure. So, partially why I love it.
I love
a beer snob myself, so I feel at home.
I love living here. It's a lot of bands come through here, and if they don't come through here, then they go to Charlotte or, worst case, Atlanta. Yeah, and that's only 3 hours for me. So,
yep,
driven down to Atlanta a few times. Yeah, but you guys over there in Charlotte, you get some good stuff that doesn't come here, but I feel like it's smaller bands.
It definitely is. Yeah.
Like more underground bands will hit Charlotte sometimes before they'll hit Asheville. Well, I don't know. I guess it's hit or miss. It's like
bro, Grasping Air has done some great tours over there.
Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna hop in.
Yeah, dude, tell him to get on. I think we've only had one person watching for a little bit, so it's been we kind of peaked with about 8, like what I said, but it's calmed down. I'm just assuming it's the Sunday afternoon on a Mother's Day. Everyone's out with their mothers, which is good.
Yeah, that is true.
You should be. I'm neglecting.
Well, my mother's 8 hours away, so.
Well, mine's about 12. I'll be seeing her tomorrow, actually, so I'm gonna make up for it then.
Or my wife is actually down in Florida right now visiting her mom and my mom.
Oh,
so she's taking care of things for me.
Exactly. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, my parents love her more than me anyway. So
I feel that sometimes. My communication can sometimes be lackluster in my mother's eyes. So She
Oh,
will she
dude,
will she will typically reach out to my girlfriend first before me and be like,
that's
"Yeah,
so
I wanna
funny.
talk to you, but"
It's the same thing where they're like, they they just don't, like, if it's any plans with a date, they don't talk to me about it. They talk to Elizabeth, my secretary, and then
Yep.
she's like, "Oh yeah, we're going down here this day and that day." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah, dude. Because
But
if it's something that's like a specific, date or something like that, I'll figure that shit out, like, a week, 3 days beforehand. I
yeah.
mean, there's no need to have a plan a month before you go somewhere. I mean, we'll, you know, like,
Stupid man shit.
the week of, dude. Yeah. Like,
That's the term that Elizabeth made up for all that. We call it
well, I got a
stupid
lot of
man
that.
shit because we
Bro,
just
when I
we
went up
just
when I went up to Asheville to see, Gojira and everything, I figured that out like 2 days beforehand, the hotel and buying the ticket,
yeah. Well,
everything.
when I
And
went up
guess what? It was fine.
exactly, I figured that out last minute. Like when I
It
went up
worked
to
out fine.
when I saw Conjure and Chemist up in Brooklyn, my friend and I had kind of talked about it, but then I had to finish up this job. It's like, oh man, I don't know if we're gonna like I can't fly up there. And so 2 days beforehand, he's like, well, let's just drive up there. And so we figured it all out 2 days before and just drove up there. It had a great time. We didn't make
Like,
any plans.
dude, to me, some of the best plans are like the in the moment plans.
Yeah.
Kind of like this stream, because this was like, nothing a couple days ago, right? Wasn't this like
Yeah.
midweek this week? We were like, yeah, let's try it on Sunday. So I've done a lot of Gojira cramming, and
Yeah. Well, it's because my whole surgery thing. It's like,
yeah,
well, let's do it. Like, let's do it while I'm sitting at home doing nothing. So
there we go. Glass half full. It kind of worked out, right?
yeah, and I mean I didn't have to do too much homework on Gojira because they've been one of my favorites for
Yeah,
ever since I listened to them.
yeah. That's also why it worked out. I mean, for me, it was like my homework to prepare for this stream was more figuring out what to do with the first two and this next two that we're about to talk about. Like where do they stack up, and how what should I say? How should I phrase talking about these albums? Because the middle three that we just got through, I mean, untouchable. That's an untouchable stretch of albums right there. From Mars
Yeah,
to Sirius through Sauvage. I mean,
I agree. I know
that is one of the best runs.
that's I fully agree with you there. And I did a little bit of digging on Reddit and stuff like that to see where people rank all
Mm,
their albums, and it's wild to see how different people rank
mm,
them, which is indicative of a great band where
oh yeah.
there's a ton of disagreement as to which albums are their best. And I mean, it seems like Mars to Sirius is their best, but like their favorite overall. But
Hmm.
there are a couple of them where I had some really big disagreements, and I think you'll appreciate one of them.
Ooh, all right. Which I guess we're ready. Let's dive into these last two and get through the discography, and then we'll come back to the ranking, because I'm excited to see how we end up ranking it. So let's see. I'm gonna share my screen because now we are at Magma. So man, this was a big album for the band, and a definitely a big album for me as a fan of the band. It came out 2016 over the summer, and probably was like the biggest jump in their sound. And this is also one that I do not own. I do not own this one. Uh, I will try to own it at some point, but I'll kind of get into why I do not own it in a second. Also came out on Roadrunner Records. Leading up to it, what was the lead single? Wasn't it Shooting Star, or
I think it was Silvera, wasn't it?
was okay? Yeah,
Well, which one did get Yeah, Silvera was nominated for the
Oh,
best metal. So I think that was
yeah.
yeah, that was the one that got
So first it
the
says
Grammy.
it was Stranded and then Silvera, which did get the Grammy, which is
It didn't. It was
impressive.
nominated. It didn't
Oh, it
get
was
it.
nominated.
I
Okay.
think Mastodon
Oh,
won it that year, but or
yeah.
Metallica or something. But whatever, you know.
So cool that they got the nomination though, like a French metal band. And Silvera is pretty heavy. I mean, they're not pulling punches. But anyway, when I approach this album, it's hard not to approach it from being disappointed. You know, like it's hard for me. It's hard not to come into it knowing that it's like a departure from literally the whole sound sonically that they had up to this point. Like it's not the wall of sound anymore. It's a lot more stripped back. The songwriting is a lot more simplified. Uh, they're focusing on, you know, kind of more commercial songs. You know, I don't want to throw out the sellout term because I don't think they sold out. I'll put that out there. I think they still wrote what they wanted to write, but I think at the same time kept in mind their growing popularity. You know, and
Yeah,
they wanted to continue to grow it, and I think that's why this album is important for them. Like it might be one of their most important albums because it's probably what you know catapulted them to be where they are now. Like I just saw Gojira headline a fucking arena, like
yeah.
over 5,000 people. I don't know how many people can fit in that arena in Nashville. I mean,
I haven't been to that one. So the last
okay,
time Gojira played here,
yeah,
they played in a smaller theater, which I think is like maybe 2,000 or something like that, which is crazy because
yeah,
you know that band Glass Animals. I don't know if you've
yeah.
heard them. They're like
I
pretty big, right?
Yep,
So Glass Animals played here, and they played at the smaller place. That's
see,
how big Gojira is. Gojira
exactly.
sells more tickets. More they have played bigger live shows than Glass Animals, and Glass Animals is huge. You know,
Like
which
this.
I went to that show, and I like Glass Animals. I'll say that, but
There you
yeah,
go.
I mean that's crazy. They're selling out arenas now. That's Gojira.
Exactly. I mean, that's what they are now. They're like an arena band, and I think you have to look at Magma for being the reason that they are that band. You know, it's I don't think they could have done they could be where they are now if they were still trying to recreate like this album or the earlier stuff. They needed to write this release to end up headlining. I mean, between 5 to 10,000 people is what I'm going to say. You know, I'm not going to. I probably got it wrong, but it was a big, huge crowd, and it was a Sunday night too. Like everyone had to go to work the next day.
Yeah,
Didn't
I'm
matter.
gonna I'm
Fucking
gonna see that
packed.
tour. I'm gonna see the same tour up in Syracuse. Um,
Yep,
whenever I drop my daughter off in New York, so pretty excited to see them
dude.
in an arena setting.
It was a killer, absolute killer show. The production value was insane. I mean, I showed you the video of when they entered with the flames and like the blow cannons and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I won't be
So,
in the pit. I'll be up in a seat. You know, can't take
dude,
my 12-year-old daughter into a pit quite yet.
it's all
So
good. I ended up not in the pit either because it was one of those shows where I started feeling a little old. There's all these like you know younger dudes that are somehow still like 6'2", like linebackers, and I moshed a little bit for Mastodon and got like a pretty bad bruise on the back of my head. I was like, all right, I'm out. I'll just watch the show from the side. But it was amazing, and I guess what I'm trying to say is like I don't think they could get to that point where they are now without this album. And me as a fan of this band, I just have to come to terms with that. You know, like
right,
this is an important album for them. I do really like this album, and we when we rank it, it's not the bottom. It's kind of in the middle. Uh, I think what initially rubbed me the wrong way was just Shooting Star being a very like slow burning, kind of boring song a little bit. Like when you first listen to it, it's not like I have clicked with it, and then Silvera and Stranded being more geared towards like Sirius XM metal radio, you know?
Yeah, and look at those song lengths too.
Yes, and the
That's
song links,
I never really looked
dude.
at that before,
Yep,
but
three and a
like
half minutes.
that's not, yeah, Gojira's they're like six, anything under 6 minutes is
This is a
short for
quick
them.
one, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But
still,
now
still,
that
still no wisdom comes. I don't see any 2.5 minute burners on there, but yeah, they're all like it's definitely a very.
yeah,
It's almost like a hard rock album versus metal.
it definitely is. And I would almost take away the extreme metal tag. Like I would still say like Linford Savage. I could say that's extreme metal, but this is just, yeah, it's metal. It's I don't want to say hard rock, but I mean, yeah, it's a different thing at this point. Uh, as far as like, so when this album came out, I was initially like, I don't want to listen to it, but I absolutely love Gojira, and I have to support them. I want to. It's not I have to. I want to, and I realized that having that mindset it was a little close minded because there's some really great songs on here, and the album overall it just flows really well. Uh, there's like these three pillars of more atmospheric and like progressive songwriting: the Shooting Star opening, Magma middle, Lowlands at the end. And these are like the longer songs that really like kind of anchor the album. And then there's the quick commercial hits in between, you know? And I just really like the flow of it in that way. And like, so the Shooting Star, still maybe one of my least favorite songs in the album, but starts it off well. Severa, it makes sense that that was the commercial single. The Cell, that's one of my favorites. Uh, dude, I love The Cell. They played that live when I saw them, and it killed. It's that main guitar riff and like the chorus part of it.
Yeah, that's a good one live
Hmm.
for sure. It definitely. Yeah, once I talk about the album, I'll get into it. But
Yeah, and then I mean, Stranded, very much similar to Silvera. I really like how they build the guitar riff though for that. Like that's creative. Like I will give Stranded credit for being just a really cool, creative way to make a commercial metal song. So I can tell the songwriting is still next level from this band. Uh, Magma is my favorite song on the album. It's it's got the best blend of this sound where it starts off kind of slow and progressive, but then at the very end it opens up with this like chuggy riff. Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, Magma's a great song. Only Pain, very similar to Cell. It definitely fits that same vibe. Uh, and then Lowlands is very cool too. Definitely fits in well with the Magma and Shooting Star vibe. I will say I don't know why they ended with Liberation. Like that just seems unnecessary. Kind of.
Yeah, I
It's
agree. I think I skip it every time
yeah,
unless it's like my phone's not accessible and I'm on Bluetooth headphones.
yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go on to the next one.
Because
It's just lackluster.
yeah, because
It's kind of
Lowlands has a little outro to it. Like Lowlands is, it's got the heavy ending to it, and then there's a little acoustic outro, and then oh yeah, the album's done. But then Liberation comes on, and it just feels a little pointless. So,
Yeah.
but I have definitely, this is one of those albums. This one and the Link, I think, have probably grown on me the most. I mean, like as the Link, I only started listening to this past week, but this one, from where I first heard it to now, I appreciate it a lot more, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that one. When I first heard it, I did not like it,
Yeah.
and especially coming from that 3 record, just 3 banger records in a row, especially La Femme Sauvage, where it was not a big change in direction, but it was a pretty significant change. And I loved it. I loved where they went with that album. And then this one came along, and I, like, right off the bat with Shooting Star, I was like, what are they doing? Like, it's like waiting for something to happen. It's like, okay, cool. And then Silvera came in, and it's like, it's a really simple riff. What's going on? Um, and they just kind of continued where I like the Cell off the bat. I had to lock my door because the animals would just keep going. Or not lock, but I
Yep.
closed it because they would just keep coming in. So yeah, I was just pretty disappointed with it, and it was hard. It was hard for me to listen to that album and not just be disappointed right off the bat. Um, and then I went and saw them play the Magma tour, and it completely changed my mind on that album. It just, and I went there with my friend is another like super like into metal and this and that, and he was like, "Oh, Magma's so good," and I was just like, "Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, have you heard from Mars to Sirius?" But then I saw it live, and I'm gonna bring up the set list, but
Yeah, that's cool. Because that's, I
it
guess, real
just
quick. I think there's a bunch of new Gojira fans entering the world at this point, right? With the release of Magma, because of the singles that they put out. So that dude you went with, was that his first album? Was Magma?
oh no, he's like OG. He's
Oh,
older.
okay.
He's even older
Well,
than
shit.
me, like
Yeah.
old metal dude.
Okay.
More like punk, but he knows what's up. Definitely not his heaviest
Yeah.
music he listens to by a long shot. But yeah, then they started playing. They opened up with Only Pain, and that's when I kind of was like, oh shit, that's a really good song. But it was towards the on the end of the album, and so I never had appreciated it. Um, and they played a bunch of the other stuff from there, but going back to it and listening, I ended up really liking that one. And listening to it again, like back to back from, because I don't remember the last time I just listened to Gojira, like they're, actually chronologically. And the production was way different. They really pushed the bass to the front, which is more of a commercial thing, you got to have your
Mhm.
bass super loud. And I really like Shooting Star. I really like that as the intro. And they played that when I saw them, and I kind of got it. Um, and Silvera, that's a cool one. It's definitely, so that's my daughter Autumn. That's her favorite song from them. I'm disappointed, but yeah. So that's the stuff she wants to see. So that's kind of a cool one because it's about being vegetarian, I
Oh,
guess.
huh.
Yeah, which I'm not. I'm not a vegetarian. I love the taste of animals.
Yep.
Sorry, but
Sorry.
yeah, but that's
Likewise.
if you listen to that song, if you read the lyrics of that song, it's pretty much about being vegetarian, which is so kind of funny that that's what that song's about. I mean, how many when you went to the show and saw them, how many bros are out there that are like meathead bros, like, oh yeah, fucking Silvera, bro, dude, oh fucking yeah, and like, this song's about being vegetarian,
Yep.
but
There was a little bit of irony during the Gojira set for sure, because
it happens when a
a
band gets
lot.
big.
Yep.
Like, you get some people with money and no brains and no appreciation.
Yep.
But that's a whole nother story. So, yeah, The Cell, when they played that one live, that's when the album really clicked for me. It's
wow.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay, kind of get it. And then Stranded, when I first heard that song, and then went into the clean part where they're like, leave the moment alone. I was like, what are they doing? This is like some poppy shit.
You were
like,
like,
I'm pretty sure
leave.
I turned the song off and just either didn't listen to Gojira for a while or just went straight to like some of their OG shit. But now I love that. I like it. It's a
Me too.
It's just kind of anthemy, kind of poppy, but you can sing along to it. And yeah, Magma, Yellowstone, another one of their interludes. Good old Gojira.
Yep, with the interlude
like,
track.
They're always gonna have that mid track or that mid album interlude. I like Magma, but something about all the harmonics always kind of
They do a lot with the guitar.
A lot of harmonics in that song, which is cool. But one of my lesser favorite songs, another one of Autumn's favorite songs. I hope they play a lot because that's going to be her first metal show.
Wow.
Which I'm stoked on that. Like, it's going to be kind of an arena performance, but
dude, I think she'll have a great show. Just
I can't
if they keep the set list that they did.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
And Only Pain, that's one of my favorite ones on that album, just for OG, like for the way Gojira used to sound.
Yeah,
I like that one. The drum intro to that, seeing them open up with that one live was really cool. And I got to agree with you on the Lowlands to Liberation. Like, that was, they could have skipped Liberation.
Yeah.
Lowlands was one of the ones that I also not listened to until I went back and revisited this for this stream.
Right, because you were probably like already checked out of the album at that point. You're like, ah.
Yeah, it's like Only Pain was so good. I just usually like, okay, let's go to the next one. But Lowlands is the one I'd kind of always overlooked, and one that I think they should have ended the album on. I think maybe that's why I overlooked it, was because it wasn't the closer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think this is their most important album because it's the album that took them from, a not obscure but more underground metal band.
Yeah.
At least over here in the States. I guess they've been selling out giant places overseas for a while, but that's just Americans want to hear pop and like Metallica, I guess. But
yep, I mean, when you look at like metal in the arenas, it's either like the legacy bands or it's like one of those more commercial metalcore or like a Five Finger Death Punch,
Sorry.
Yep.
I love Metallica, but I will shit on Five Finger Death Punch until the day I die. That's a shit band.
Please do. For the love of God, please
and I will never be
Yep.
nice to anybody that thinks they're good.
Yep. I mean, it's rough when you're looking at like arena metal tours, and just the fact that Gojira is now able to occupy that space. It gives me hope. It's a beautiful thing, and I think this album is to thank for it. So
Yeah. What's like,
I've absolutely grown to appreciate what they did here.
yeah. Um, so I was talking to one of my friends, actually my friend who got me into Gojira.
Oh yeah.
Um, and when I walked into his room and he's listening to Remembrance,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking to him the other day, and he's like got it was kind of weird because he got super gatekeepy about Gojira and
That's funny.
how he's like, oh yeah, I had some friends like these girls like dressed up to go see Gojira when they played here in Asheville, and it's like, why are you angry about that? This is Gojira. We've been listening to this band for over 10 years, and now they're big. You know, they're a big band, and yeah, a bunch of people are probably never going to go past Magma and Fortitude, but that's they're a gateway band now. They're getting
Exactly.
up there with Slipknot and Metallica, where everybody knows who they are. But once you start delving deeper, they're going to get you into the kind of,
Yeah.
more underground bands. They've become a gateway band, which is awesome, and I love that. That one of my favorite bands has become an introduction to metal, and so that's I think Magma is one of the that's to thank for it. They
Yep.
they went for it. They went commercial. They went accessible, and I really think they hit it out of the park with this one.
Yep. And they still didn't lose their who they were, like the core of their sound. You know, like they still sound like Gojira during it. I mean, like Joe is still not like super clean singing. He still has very recognizable vocals. There's still a lot of like brutal songs. The message is still there, like the genuine nature of like their environmental and conservation effort is still there. So I don't feel like they compromised in the places that mattered the most. I mean, there's definitely compromise in their sound, but at their core, I think they're still Gojira, you know?
Yeah, they strayed away from the
Hmm.
riffs that I loved them so much for. This was
The
definitely the biggest
yeah,
change in their sound.
the
Like,
riffs where there's the double bass constantly going underneath, and it just like propels you into
yeah,
you know into.
are there even any blast beats? I don't think there are any
I don't
blast
think
beats on
so,
this
man.
album, but it's
Probably the cell might be the closest. I think you know it's yeah,
yeah,
but it is what it is, and they're running with it, and you still go see them live, and they're not neglecting their previous albums. You know,
no, especially when they have a long set list. And I think
yeah,
I'm kind of bummed for you that
yeah,
you saw them at a double headlining tour,
yep.
um, because usually they play for like an hour and a half or something.
I think they trimmed it to an hour for that. So I guess when you see them, that's probably what it'll be.
Every
Uh,
time I've seen them, no, first time I saw them, they opened up for Mastodon.
really,
Yeah,
that is a good pairing to me.
it really
Are,
is. Like,
are you a Mastodon fan? Like,
I haven't delved super into their stuff. I like them. Everything I've
mhm,
heard, I've loved, but it's just one of those bands that hasn't super clicked with me yet.
mhm.
I'm really excited to see them because I've already seen them twice.
Dude,
And they're
their set list is killer. I think touring with Gojira in this manner has really brought out their heaviest parts, of their discography. Because when I saw them, they played 4 songs off of their first 2 albums each, so like 8 total of
oh shit. So
like
those are the ones I
really,
know the
really
most.
heavy shit. Like
Yeah.
fucking Crusher, Destroyer, Mother Puncher, uh, Megalodon. I don't know. It's Mastodon really. It was the best set I've seen from them. But yeah, it's a good show. Here we got one more album.
Let's get
One.
yeah, let's get into
Let's
it.
get it. So still on Roadrunner Records from Magma, we jumped to 2021. So this is actually a long wait, right? Which to me, I think it helped that they waited so long to release this album. Like, because it was 2016 to 2021, 5 years, which for Gojira, that's a bit longer than usual. It gave me more time to appreciate what Magma was and to kind of come to terms with where Gojira was with their sound, right? And to be okay with it and not to automatically like listen to their new music from a critical standpoint, which is how I was listening to Magma when it first came out. So when they released Fortitude in 2021, I knew what I was getting, you know. This is arena rock Gojira,
Yeah.
kind of perfected, you know. Like it's simple, it's straightforward. They don't waste any time with their songs. If we looked at the times for the track listing, I think the longest song might be Hold On at about 6 minutes, but everything else falls within the 3.5 to 4 or 5 minute, long song. And it's fine. Like I knew what I was getting into and I was okay with it. And I really approached this album just wanting to hear new Gojira, kind of any type of new Gojira, just being a fan of the band and the music that they produce. I just wanted to hear more of their output. So I was not disappointed. I was perfectly fine and happy and content listening to this album when it came out. And to me, I thought it was immediately good for sure.
You had, dare I
Hmm.
say, lower expectations than before, I guess.
My expectations were different. You're right. Like,
Different expectations. Yeah,
yeah,
not definitely not. Yeah.
they weren't lower. It's just I knew I wasn't going to get like something out there or adventurous or like, you know, this is going to redefine how you think of a riff or how you think of, you know, a Gojira song. It's just going to fit right in, kind of neatly into their sound, and most likely it will continue to grow the band and allow them to play these bigger venues. And it definitely delivers on that. At the same time, because now we're about 2 years after the release of this album, I think I'd come back to this the least because there's no challenge to listening to it. Like Magma is at least like a little tricky, a little challenging. You're like scratching your head a couple times and trying to figure out what they're doing in this song or that song. This one is just very straightforward, very simple. Most of the songs are immediate. Um, there's nothing that you're really questioning on it. It's fun, it's straightforward, and that's it. So it's probably the easiest album to listen to from Gojira. It's still, as I said, still a good album, but probably one that, as time continues to pass, I will revisit the least because of how straightforward it is.
It's
Like I
very
don't,
accessible. Very.
yeah,
I feel like some these songs could be. You could pop on FM radio, and you could say the same about Magma as well. But there's some it's like very.
but different, right? Like, cause for Magma, I think you can approach it differently. Like, it took me forever to realize that, "Shooting Star" is a good song. The title track or Lowlands, and just recently when I was listening to Magma, "Pray" came out. I was like, wow, I actually really like this song a lot better.
Oh, so back. I meant to talk about that when I
Yeah,
saw them
right.
play that live. They're getting towards. It's if a set's much over an hour, it seems like it's like okay, this is starting to drag on.
Hmm.
But they came out with that song, and I don't know if I think they turned up the PA, like they must have turned the volume up, but that was like an invigorating song to see them
It
play
woke you
live.
up. Yeah.
It's kind of like not that the set list was bad, it was a good set list, but then they played that and it was just this injection of get stoked again. They played that, and then they went into Clone from Terror. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa, okay, like let's wake the fuck up, which is cool to see them do that. But yeah, just want to throw that out there that
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to bring that song up because
See, so some of those songs you can grow with them, and like, you know, uh, your opinion can change. But I think it's probably just gonna stay the same for Fortitude. So real quick, welcome back, Siegel. Halftime. We're wrapping up on the last album. Glad you're Celtic. Celtics. Glad they're winning.
Celtics. I think it's a K.
Celtic Frost.
Le Drunken.
Yes, I am not the master of pronouncing words at all.
Americans.
Lee Infant Savage. But
Gojira.
no, like, yeah. Sounds like an anatomy thing.
Oh gosh.
But no, like, so to kind of break down the individual songs, I mean, Born for One Thing, that is a great intro to the album. That is also that's the opening song when I saw him live, was Born for One Thing, which that was really cool. Like, that really made me like that song a lot more. Seeing them pull that off right out the gate live, with because it builds with the like a kind of a snare roll and like kind of a little down tuned reserve guitar before really dropping with the main riff.
I do like
And
that drum intro.
yeah, it works for the album and in the live setting for sure. And then at the very end of the song, they really do a cool like breakdown piece to it, where it's like the pinch harmonics Gojira is back in full swing. And then Amazonia, that's a great song. I really do like that song. That's where they really nail the message of this album, which that's another strong part of this release, is just the message that they're trying to convey about like the indigenous peoples, and more focused on like South America and saving the rainforest, and bringing that almost cultural side of of that place into the music. And Amazonia, and definitely the song The Chant, really do a great job of bringing it in. My favorite song on the album is Hold On. That's to me, that's the arena rock sound that Gojira has been trying to, or it wants to nail on this album, perfected. So that's like the ideal arena rock anthem. It's got like the chanting, like fight. It's like hold
It's an
on,
anthem. It is.
fight. Yeah, and it's the main riff is just so good, and the production is amazing because it just feels expansive. Like there's like no end to the ceiling of this song, and I don't know, it just feels massive, and like you're in an army with a bunch of other people. Hold On is great. Newfound is cool too. Reminds me a little bit of Pantera, kind of, with the groove of some of the guitar riffs. Um, the chant was, I think I mentioned, it's bringing back the indigenous peoples kind of vibe. Um, it was a song that I was not really big on until once again I saw it live, and they brought the whole crowd into it. This is definitely a
That's a.
live song. They
They
wrote it
wrote
probably
that
to be
one.
played live,
Yeah,
and
that had to be written to be played live.
the
So I never thought
guitar,
about it either. So
yeah, the guitar at the end really kills it in the live setting too. And now I'm noticing it more when I'm listening to it on the album. Into the Storm is kind of that arena rock sound taken a bridge. It's taken too far. It's a little too anthemic, and I'm starting to check out a little bit. The final song, Grind, is awesome though too, and they did play that one live. But real quick, I'm off to use the restroom one more time, and I'll let you talk about this.
yeah, and then I'll have to check out to the bathroom too after that. Um, yeah, so Fortitude after coming off of Magma which is an album I did not like at first, and now I'm definitely digging more. Uh, I think that one of the things about that album was they released a lot of singles right off the bat, and I felt like half the album was out there before the album was actually released, and maybe that was a little bit due to COVID or just the general evolution of how music is done these days, where everyone wants a streaming single. It's uh, may very well be the evolution of how we see bands write songs or just come out and do a single, and instead of having full albums. I'm sure bands are still going to do that, but we're definitely living in the time of singles being released often. So that was one of the things that was kind of odd about the album, where we had half the album released before the album actually came out.
But they released a lot of singles, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a ton of singles that came out. Whereas like, so
yeah, like
that was
Another World was released like a year, right? Before or
yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I really liked that song. Super straightforward. Maybe their most simple song they've ever written. It's kind of one of those one of those songs where you could probably learn to play it within a month of playing guitar.
No.
But cool. I liked it. I think they did really well with very little. But yeah, starting from the beginning, Born for One Thing was cool. I liked the intro more than anything else. The just that kind of snare drum build up. Yeah, and Amazonia, I really liked the groove on that one. That's another really simple song, but I just really liked that. Using very little, like not a whole lot of notes, not a lot going on, but it's a very kind of primal, tribal sounding song, which was I think what they were going for. Yeah, already heard about Another World. Very simple, but I think it was an elegant song. I don't watch a lot of music videos, but I did like the music video for that one.
Me too.
It was very, it's like kind of sad, but I like that it wasn't, because a lot of their music videos are them just playing, like, I don't know. I don't want to just see a band playing in a music video.
You don't want the abandoned warehouse or the wide open field or
like do something else. I thought
you're in the rain playing.
Right. Like, you hit the cymbal and the water splashes everywhere. I really liked what they did with that music video. Like with Hold On, like you're saying, big anthem. I loved the build up on that one.
Build up was great.
Yeah. And then the next one was more anthemy, Newfound.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually had some technical aspects to it that kind of took me back a little bit to Way of All Flesh. Kind of that almost not mathy, but not just a straightforward riff.
Yeah.
And then going into the chant in that song, I'd always overlooked it until I saw it live. But seeing that now, I get it. Like, oh yes, this is an arena one where we're all supposed to sing it together, and I loved it. I got super into it seeing it live. I think the introduction to the chant Fortitude, they could have just had that be the same song. I guess it was kind of funny. Sphinx might have been my my favorite song on the album.
I don't remember that one as well. What is it? More of like a straightforward kind of like The Cell or Only Pain from Magma?
Yeah, it's a little on that level. But it kind of, to me, starts the trend going into the next song, where I just wish they would let loose with some dirty vocals. Like, I get it, you guys are going for the arena sound, you're going for more clean vocals, but give us a
Yeah.
banger, you know, give us a barn burner.
I
And
definitely feel like they could have used. Sorry, I definitely feel like they could have used that song "Into the Storm" after the Sphinx. Exactly, they could have done something else with it.
yeah, and like Into the
Exactly what you're
Storm
saying. Yeah,
was I like that, but it's like, guys, give me some gnarly vocals. I understand what you're doing, but is it too much to ask to go for your old school fans and just go full dirty vocals? You know, just give us a barn burner, give us something good. And I think um, they almost did that. Like the Trails was good, or the Storm, Into the Storm was like, that was the closest they came, but they didn't really let loose. Um, the Trails was a song that I went in going back to and listened to a few times because it was really proggy. They had some really cool chord structures that
hmm.
I actually enjoyed. It wasn't Gojira by any means. Wasn't something wasn't what I was looking for in a metal band, but it was cool. And then the Grind might be my favorite one off the album. But yeah, it was overall definitely not my favorite, and probably the one I'd go back to the least, just because it's easy to listen to.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Taking notes from what you were saying though, I will have to go back and check out the Sphinx and Trails again because
yeah, just
I
listen to
think those two
Trails,
were yeah.
not from a Gojira perspective, but more of a kind of proggy perspective. But
Okay.
yeah, before we get into like kind of the overview, I'm gonna go pee real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
All those
I'll
those Mother Earths, you know, they've been getting to me.
likewise, man.
I'll be back
I'll,
in a
I'll
sec.
I'll do some stalling here. Uh, so yeah, we are about to rank uh, all 7 of these Gojira albums, and I think we definitely already touched on what our like favorites and probably like least favorite is. So won't be too many surprises there. But for me, I think it's remarkable how consistent this band is. Like none of these albums are, releases I would say are actually bad or even just good. They're all great and amazing or, you know, fucking out of this world genre defining pieces of music. So for me, how I've kind of divided out my ranking is there's 4 that are in that, they're great and amazing, but they don't get to where the other 3 are. And then those other 3, as I said, they're like near perfect, like top tier, best albums of all time, period, kind of stuff. So yeah, Gojira just an amazing discography that you can listen to from start to finish. Uh, and I guess I also want to mention just how impressive they are live as well. We'll talk about this a little bit later too, but you can go onto YouTube and pull up any of their live sets, and they're going to be good. And they've got so many great live performances out there that you can watch, and it really sells what they're delivering live. Like on recording, they're really nailing it. And I am not a live album or live release guy. Like I wouldn't go out and specifically buy a live album, but for Gojira I would, because the sound is so clear, the production is so great. Like it really is. It's almost in-house production, like like on record quality, or even better in some, because it sounds more energetic and even heavier. Uh, I think the Link Alive and the Flesh Alive are probably the two best.
Come on, guys, get out of here.
Oh, the cone is back.
Oh, they're like they want to eat. They're going crazy.
Oh, dude, are you getting to that the witching hour of
Yeah, it's
food?
you got another like hour there, buddy.
I know. It's honestly, these fucking cats do the same thing here. I feed them at 6, and about 5 o'clock, there's one that will just start being a menace and knock everything off counters and
They just
wow, do exactly
make
what that
noise.
cat's doing. Make
How?
noise.
Get out of here. Go. And if I look at them, go. Get out of here. Go. If I even look at them, like they're nuts. They both like the dogs. Like he shows his teeth and just
Yeah.
starts going crazy. And yeah, no lip syncing live.
Nope. I was talking about the Gojira live experience while you were just how consistently good there are, because you could check out the live releases that they have, like the Link Alive and Flesh Alive and the one for L'Enfant Sauvage, but you could really just pull up any. Where's the cat? Is the cat behind the door?
No, he's like at my feet.
That's so funny, dude.
Little bastards.
I'm sorry. I live that every day, so I.
It's like
Cheers,
trying to stream,
cheers, man.
guys.
I respect it. Yeah. They don't respect it. I'm sorry, they don't understand.
No. But yeah, so yeah, Gojira live there. They're definitely
Yeah.
live.
And you can watch any of their concerts, and they're just great. Like, it's funny. Seagull over here mentioned this one. Have you watched?
Yes. I
watched. I was watching it earlier today. Actually,
I watched that one live.
Yeah. Oh
So
wait, what?
When it came out, I think.
Oh yeah.
wanna
So
say
they
I watched-
streamed. Did they stream it?
They did. I'm like 99% sure.
Wow.
But yeah, I streamed that one, watched that one live, which is really cool. That's one of my favorite ones that I've seen.
Yeah, I was watching earlier today, and the set list was great. They opened up, I think, with Prayer was their opening for it,
Did
and
they?
then they went right into Heaviest Matter, and it was awesome. I'll have to see if I can find it, but the Red Rocks show, plus it's at Red Rocks venue is amazing, dude.
Have you been?
Yes, I went.
Oh,
I saw the South Park anniversary show.
oh, really?
Yeah, I did with Primus and Ween.
Oh, dude, I still haven't seen Primus or Ween live, but
Do you like both of those bands? I'm a big Primus fan, so that's
I've never heard Ween, but I do like Primus.
Yeah. I actually, likewise, that was my first introduction to Ween, but man, Red Rocks is the next level venue for sure. Like that's got to be up there for a best worldwide venue, I bet. So seeing Gojira live there would be amazing. So that's a great show to watch. But I guess before we dive into the live element, do you want to knock out our rankings?
Oh man! All right, we gonna get into this.
This is it, dude.
We might have to fight after this one,
We'll see. As long as your number 1 and number 2 are right, then we're fine.
Well, I think I know what your number 1 and number 2 are, but I think we disagree. My number 1 is Mars. Mars is Sirius. That one is perfect.
Wow.
It's heavy. Songs like Backbone and the opener, Ocean Planet. What an incredible way. Maybe it's part of the nostalgia. Maybe it's part of it getting me through a really rough time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But that one was just, that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
L'Enfant Sauvage is second. And
okay.
I think that is their most underappreciated album. We're delving into the Mexican lagers now.
I'm onto a hazy IPA.
Oh God, dude, you're getting hazy IPAs at the
Yep,
end.
I'm screwing up for sure.
So, guys, come on, we're wrapping this up. Get out of here.
Yeah, just like 20 more minutes, please.
So, yeah, L'Enfant Sauvage is second. That is an album that has stood the test of time for sure. You know, like March is Serious.
Sorry.
And
Yeah.
like that one, that's such an uplifting album. And again, another one that was really powerful for a time in my life where I was looking forward to being free.
The wild child, right?
A wild child. I was like, I can embrace this and just, I don't have to do what someone else tells me. I can just do what I want. Whether or not like it, you know, I can be free again.
That's cool, man.
After that is Magma. That one.
No shit. Okay, well now we're gonna fight. What the fuck? Magma is number 3.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna have that. I thought you were gonna have that at the end. Are you kidding me?
I love Magma. It's another one that got me through my last few years in Florida, where I hated living in the flatlands. I did not like it when I first heard it, but then seeing it live, I really liked it. It is very straightforward. It's very bare bones, but it's like a one-off album for me. It's kind of the one that it's like, oh, that's really cool. I would have appreciated if they had not gone back to that sound, if that had just been like
the one-off. Yeah.
Yeah, like let's do a radio rock album. Let's do a commercial album. I enjoy that. I enjoy it for just the easy listening, straightforward riffs, kind of like very slick pop like production, and
bass heavy, right? Yeah,
bass heavy, and how important it was for them as a band, because that was the band that really that's the one that thrust them into the spotlight. Before that, they were very underground. After that was when they blew up. After that's The Way of All Flesh.
Okay.
I love that one. There's some really good songs on there. And it was also, when I first started listening to them, that was the newest album. So it was still new to me. After that would be The Link. That's one that has grown on me with time. Mm-hmm. The more I listen to it, the more I like it. When I first heard it, I never really listened to it. When I first started listening to them, I'd always just skip that and listen to Mars to Sirius and The Way of All Flesh. But the more I listen to it, the more it's a very raw album. It's probably, in my opinion, their most raw. It's not as straightforward. I know that it's kind of almost sound like the same thing, but
would you say it's their most extreme, or like their most, like, I think the production is the most bare bones, I think.
Yeah, it's bare bones, but it's probably their heaviest record, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
More so than
I agree.
Terra. It's definitely their heaviest album. Yeah, it's got some really good songs on it. And then Fortitude just hasn't vibed to me yet. Maybe it will. Maybe I need to listen to it more, but it's just of all their albums, I have to say it was the most disappointing for me.
Yeah.
Magma,
so you were actually disappointed by it.
Yes, and continued to be. Like, it's not like Magma where it's grown on me. It just, Fortitude has not grown on me. And maybe I need to listen to it more. Maybe I need to listen to it now that I'm happy and somewhere in my life where I'm, maybe that's part of it. But
Mm-hmm.
and then Tara, I gotta put
Yeah.
that one at the end. I still love it. It's got some good songs, but overall, there's a whole lot of weird shit going on and a lot of filler, but
Yeah.
some
That's
really good songs on it. But I feel like it's just kind of overshadowed by a lot of filler and weird songs, just bizarre, like the 1900 trillion tons, and then whatever one is called, and then
the BOT, the Satan
yeah,
is a lawyer. I
Satan,
mean,
the new metal. It's just like
yeah,
it was a
it is a weird.
bizarre album. So
So
yeah, so let's hear it, man. What do you got? Unless
before okay, yeah, I'll just go for it. Number one, L'Enfant Sauvage. I mean, this is just you summed it up pretty well. You know, it's to me this is Gojira fully realizing their sound. It's very dualistic in that it balances their harsh with their beautiful, pieces of music, and it really is the most uplifting. It's a little sad in places, but then at the same time, it kind of ends in a more uplifting fashion. Uh, and just the message behind it, I think is great. And for me, it's the most compact Gojira album and the most consistent all the way through. So easily number one. Number two, I would have to go with. Oh, where's my booklet? There's my booklet. Yeah, dude. From Mars is serious because that's it. This is the Gojira album.
yeah,
Like I think because metal is almost like a historical thing, right? Everyone likes to chronicle away certain albums by certain bands. Is like this is the peak. I think this is that album for Gojira, and there's just so many iconic songs on here, so many amazing riffs and moments. You can't go wrong. So number two, and then number three for me, it has to be The Way of All Flesh. And I'm surprised, man, because for me, it's these first three are like up here, right? And then there's a bit of a little dip, and then I get the next four for me below it. So like, it was really hard for me to figure out how to rank these two. Like I kept going back and forth with it because this has some of their best songs, dude. Art of
oh yeah,
Dying,
I
Toxic
love
Garbage
that.
Island, Esoteric Surgery, uh, Vacuity. Yeah, like some of their best stuff. And then number four for me would be The Link, and that is one I'm gonna have to buy, track down. To me, that's when they find their sound, and I think that is super super important, super cool. And then like the second half of that album is absolutely just killer. And then we got Magma at number five. Um, definitely for the reasons that you said. I'm definitely impressed you put it at three. It makes
Me too.
sense.
Hey, me
It
too.
makes sense. I
It's
get it. But like because I think it's those albums that really challenge you and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
get out of here.
Dude, that cat is
It's
dedicated. He is dedicated to getting fed.
yeah, yeah. No, it's
We're
these
almost done. What's his name?
Henrik.
We're almost done, Henrik. It's
Yeah, so they going back to the Flesh though. That I do absolutely love that album.
yeah. It must just be because
It
I think
was
it's inconsistent towards the end of it, and so that might be for me. That's why this one edged it out because this one ends with global warming and world to come, and then this one ends with the title track in Wolf Down the Earth, and I'm like, on the ending for this. So that's why this one's better to me.
yeah.
But Yeah, because it's tough to figure out. So yeah, Magma is my number 5. Number 6 for me would be Terra Incognita. This is weird. It's bizarre. It's entirely unique in their discography, and that's kind of why I like it. It's just such a weird album that does not fit into the rest of their releases, and it's the one that I think I can get the most out of. You know, so definitely enjoy Terra Incognita, and that just leaves this as being my last. Because, as I said, I liked it. I wasn't disappointed by it, but maybe I did have low
Yeah.
standards going into it. So I think because of that, this is yeah at the very end, and it probably will not be revisited. And when I originally got this, um, I actually had this fairly highly ranked, but then I'm revisiting it like months and years later, and it's not holding up to what it was initially to me. Whereas the other albums, it's like they're continuing to grow and become better. But
Yeah, I
this
agree.
one starts to fall kind of down. So I originally thought this was going to be like above Magma or right behind Magma, but no, this is their worst. And I don't know. We'll see where they go from there. It's still a great album. Like, um, do you consider any of their albums to be below like a B on like a if we're doing like a you know classic school grading? Like for me, this is a B minus. I think if I were to rank it like that.
Um, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
From a it's I would have to approach it from a non-Gojira fan
Mm,
standpoint, which is hard
that's
because
impossible for me. I think.
you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
because I think if I heard Fortitude, I probably would just oh, there's just if I never listened to Gojira and someone showed me Fortitude, I would probably never delve into them again just because like, oh, it's got some cool parts.
Oh, it's a commercial metal band. Great.
I mean, it's not bad. Like I don't think they've released a bad album, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's just uh, Fortitude just did not. They have some fun moments. I enjoy some of them, but the more I listen to it, it's not like some of the albums like L'Enfant Sauvage is one of those albums that it just keeps going. Like Marsa series, I don't think that's ever going to change as being my favorite. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe L'Enfant Sauvage will tie at some point, and The Link is another one where it's just the more I listen to it, I enjoy it more. But Fortitude, it's just the more I listen to it, the less I like it, and it's unfortunate because that's their
Me too.
latest release,
Yep.
and maybe Magma might do the same, but I think it also it came from another hard time in my life
Hmm.
where it got me through some hard shit, and I really like that was the album that got them famous.
Yeah.
But we'll
That's. I
see.
mean.
Like I'm
Yep.
stoked to see what they do next. Like come on, like not stoked, but like I'll be
I
approaching
will.
with caution.
We'll. We'll both be following what they do next. That's the thing, right? We'll not ignore it.
No, what I
Right.
might do is just I might not listen to any of the singles. Wait
Oh
till the
wait.
whole album comes out.
Hmm.
Do the whole like sit in a dark room and listen to it. You know,
Yeah.
um,
That's probably a good idea because for Fortitude, well, yeah, yeah.
now I'm
But
trying to
I'll definitely be keeping up with them as they approach a new album.
yeah, but it's kind of I don't know. I love them, but it's kind of I'm a little bit sad to see where they've gone. But then
Where they
again,
might go.
I mean, they've been doing this for almost 30 years, so
Hmm.
they can't just do From Mars to Sirius for the rest of their lives.
So here's the thing. I don't think they've checked out, right? Like, I don't think they've, you know, like, are you a Slayer fan at all?
I haven't listened to a ton of their stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's Slayer. Saying you don't
So,
like Slayer's saying you don't like Metallica. You know, they're
but
iconic.
but if you're following like them as releasing albums, they get to a certain point, or heck, Amon Amarth, right? There comes to a certain point where they've checked out. They don't really care. They're a business. They're releasing a product, right? More so than a artistic statement. And I don't feel like Gojira has done that. Or like for me, the latest Amon Amarth album, completely forgettable. Like I try to listen to it. No.
Yeah, them and like
And
In Flames kind of did that for me.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
they've just
that's a
they
good
they
that's a good
just
example.
they found their formula and they never deviated. And
Yep.
that's something, yeah. Gojira,
It's
they don't adhere to a formula. They're gonna
no.
do it. They're gonna do their thing, and I appreciate that.
So I mean, I think because they're only one album separated from Magma, so they might still. I think there's still creativity in the tank, you know, like maybe an arena rock album is what they wanted to do with this release. So now that they've done it, they're like, well, we don't need to do this again. Let's find something else to do. So I'm hopeful, not 100% hopeful. There's a little pessimism in there as well, but I don't think it's going to be a guarantee that we're just going to get a Fortitude 2.0. You know
No, well, that's the thing. They've never done that. When has
exactly
Gojira ever? Every single album they've done has been
growth.
drastically different from the next one.
Yep,
Um, the closest I would say would be maybe from Mars to Sirius to Way of All Flesh.
I agree. Yeah.
That'd probably be the albums they sounded the most similar.
Hmm.
Uh, those are, you saw my ranking. That's two of my favorite ones from them.
Likewise.
Um, but yeah, we'll see where they go. I'd almost be. I feel like they're in an odd place right now.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep going arena rock? Are you going to go metal? Or are you going to go more progressive? Because I could accept some progressive stuff,
Me
like
too.
the which one was it? Trails
Mm.
from Fortitude. If they pursued that, I'd kind of be excited for it. But if they put out another album with a bunch of 3-minute songs that's all like, yeah, anthem rock,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be really disappointed.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you guys did that. That's cool. But let's go another. Let's keep
Hmm.
being Gojira. So we'll see.
Yeah. So I guess real quick, Gojira has some just absolutely iconic songs. Wanted to do a top five of our favorite songs. So hit me with yours. What's your top five Gojira tracks?
I'm gonna have to go. Let's go number 5.
Ooh, okay.
Wisdom comes.
Wow. Yeah. Nice.
That's kind of a out of left field. Just an
Absolutely.
absolute burner. Um, Art of Dying, just for the
Hmm.
epicness of it and how it's a long song, but it's only 3 riffs. If you break
Yeah.
it down,
I love
and
that,
the
dude.
first riff is just one note, and they can just build on that.
Yeah.
Um, Top 3 are hard, man. It's really hard. I don't think I have a favorite song. Um, so Whales, obviously, that's to me that is the most Gojira song. if I was to take one song and say that is Gojira. If you want to listen to what I think Gojira is, listen to Flying Whales.
Ooh.
Uh,
This seems like it's hurting you.
it is, man. Like these top three.
That's funny, dude.
And then Le Fond Sauvage,
Mm,
because that song,
wow.
it makes me happy. It really
Dude,
just
that's
makes me
awesome.
feel free. It makes me it's the song that when I hear that, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hop on my mountain bike. I'm gonna go ride around through these beautiful mountains and just be this wild child.
That's
Then Backbone, got to go with Backbone.
wow. Backbone number one.
Number
Holy shit.
one.
Damn.
It's a song that it's a really heavy one, but that breakdown, and it wasn't until the last couple times I listened to it where the breakdown actually kind of got me teared up a little bit.
It's for me. That's a Goosebumps song. Like when that. Actually, probably all of my top 5 are Goosebumps song. Like they all give me the hairs are standing up, and you're just like every single all of your senses are just honed in.
Exactly. And
you
that's the thing.
feel so alive. You're just like, oh my god.
And I could have picked out a different one other than Wisdom Comes, but I felt like I had to throw
That's a cool
one
pick,
in there
dude.
that was like just out of nowhere.
See, because for me, all my top 5 are from those main 3 albums. You know.
Yeah.
So like, I'm glad the link got an inclusion.
But I have an honorable mention.
Oh, hit it.
Gift of Guilt.
Yeah, wow.
Got to throw that as an honorable mention as just that's one that song could have been a half hour long.
Exactly.
Playing, building on that same idea. They could do, you know what I mean? That could be an entire epic built around that lead, that tapping lead.
Yeah.
And then the kind
chorus
of heavy riff and the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a simple one.
It is, but it works so well. I mean, that's the thing. It's like that's the sign that they can make catchy songs without like compromising their sound, you know?
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
they didn't have to write fortitude to make catchy songs.
Yeah, Gift of Guilt is if they could have you know really just brought that vibe. I think that was one of their most accessible songs, but I don't know, they didn't quite capture that accessibility again since that song. To where it's an easy song to listen to, but it's beautiful, simple, and elegant.
And still heavy.
Like that heavy riff where it's just they even brought in that elephant march riff. It's just it's like we just want to pound your chest to it.
Dude, yeah. Shit. So my top 5, I was curious because it's funny when we're like, I'm making, like a top 5, I feel like I'm just copying what everyone else would do. But it's cool to know that I actually have, unique takes, right? But there's definitely an overlap for 3 songs, so I guess maybe not. So number 5 for me was Flying Whales. I agree absolutely with what you said. That is the song for Gojira. Number 4 would be Backbone for me. That tremolo riff section is amazing. And just track 2 on From Mars to Sirius. It's one of the better second tracks, especially after Ocean Planet.
Yeah, how could they go up from Ocean Planet and then they
but they did, because it's like Ocean Planet is like the slow burn, and then all of a sudden just knocks you on your ass with Backbone. And then for me, number three would have to be the Axe off of L'Enfant Sauvage. I feel like that is the perfect song to kind of represent that album. And with it being my favorite album, there has to be a track that I think exemplifies the sound. And the Axe to me does that just with the, the, the build up to the chorus and the instrumentation and the focus on like a more beautiful atmosphere,
Yeah,
you know?
that's a great song. I love
Yeah.
the tremolo riffing
Yeah.
at the beginning. Yeah, that's a
Because
and it's a pretty song.
it is, but it's still heavy. It's like
It's
pretty
still
beautiful, but
heavy.
it's still like double bass is going on the whole time underneath it. Like there's the breakdown, which is just like really pummeling, but there's a beautiful melody over top. So yeah, the Axe is number three. Number two for me would be the heaviest matter in the universe.
Yeah. It's hard not to put that on top 5. It
Yeah,
hurt me, but
that had to have been like a seven or that had been close for you, right?
I mean, way up there. Like I just I didn't want to just throw everything from Mars to Sirius on there.
You're right.
You know what I mean? But that's like that would have been my wisdom comes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
you wanted the variety of that. So that's why I have three tracks from Mars to Sirius on there, and that's why. And then so number one,
get out, guys. Come on. Got
guys,
like
we're
10
almost
minutes
done.
left.
Yeah,
They don't even eat this early anyway. Fuckers.
they sense that you're on a stream and you're trying to focus on anything else but them.
Yeah.
But number one for me would have to be The Art of Dying. Like that is probably one of the most important songs that I've ever heard. Period. Like yeah, I just love the lyrical approach, the songwriting approach, just the whole conversation about your relationship with death and like almost like it's a detachment from like the physical world. So you know you shouldn't get wrapped up with collecting things because you
Yeah.
know
Take no possessions.
take
I
no
would rather
possessions.
travel light.
Yes, like that. I love that line. Uh, as I said, don't follow it, but definitely, you know, I think it's killer. And it's because it's like that the first half with the first two riffs, right? That is such a buildup of stress and tension, and it's uh, really crazy and
It's primal.
pretty extreme, very primal. Yeah, you're kind of trapped in this storm of noise, and then it just the ultimate cathartic release for that riff that just carries out to the end of the song. So that is my number one. To throw on a honorable mention as well. I originally had Esoteric Surgery as my number five, but I had to put Flying Whales on there because Let Us Gojira. So Esoteric Surgery would be the honorable mention because riff fest and you're right the cell will heal itself. You know, it's the
Those 3 albums though.
that's it.
I mean, that's when I go back to Gojira, it's definitely
Yep.
those 3 albums. And you know, Magma's I know I did say put out
You ranked it higher, man.
I
You
did.
said it's better. You said it's a superior album to this one.
I did. And that's I might not listen to it as much, but it's an important album in my timeline and in their
That makes
timeline.
sense. Yeah.
So, but as far as listening goes, I mean, the top 2, um, Mars Sirius and L'Enfant Sauvage. I listen to those 2.
It's cool you like this one as much as you did because yeah.
It was like I kind of that was always one of the ones I really liked, and then Magma and Fortitude came out, and I was trying to listen to those more. Listen to Magma a lot, and there was definitely a time where I would have put Magma number 2,
Wow. Yeah.
but Yeah, we talked about that a couple months ago or like a month ago, and
Yeah, when you came out for this, I believe, right?
yeah, good old King Buff. We got to do a video on them too before they keep releasing more because they release a lot of music. So
Yeah, they do.
like get
I
it in
got
before we can't keep up.
I got a lot of homework to do on them for sure because that's a new band for me. But I guess before we jump off, we definitely been talking about their live shows a lot. Like I wouldn't mind just having a brief conversation on like just nailing how good they are in the live setting. I mean, like these songs sound so much more immense and emotionally impactful live. You know, once again, the tie back to Yob is the same way, where it's like you can really feel the emotional center of the songs in the live setting, and I definitely felt that. I just saw them live a week ago today, actually. So for the first time. So finally, you've seen them live 4 times. They are a live band. I'm gonna quickly just run through my one concert experience, then you can go because you got more. Um, Opening up with Born for one thing was phenomenal, and then they went right into Backbone, which like that's how you balance out your set list right there with your newest album and then your classic heaviest shit.
Yeah.
And then Stranded sounded great live. Flying Whales was everything I wanted it to be in the live setting.
Did they play the
But
full intro?
yeah, they did. Yeah, it was
Nice.
definitely like 7 minutes and the build up. And like the whole time, like their stage show is phenomenal. They got like the TV screens in the back and the fire flames on all sides and air cannons and
Well, LED
streamers.
bars and
Yeah,
yeah.
LED bars, streamers, and confetti dropping from the ceilings. Like they got the full show. They played the Cell live and cemented that that is a great song. Art of Dying. I already talked about that. I mean, come on, that
I
was
hope they play
that
that.
was the peak. Yeah, like so their set list was a little light on older stuff. Like they didn't play anything from the Link or Terra Incognita. But because they played The Art of Dying, I was fine with it. I was like, that's okay. No need to worry about it. And then, as I said, the chant kind of really won me over. Seeing it in a live setting where they're getting the whole crowd involved and just the production, the live production on the guitar was really awesome. And then they closed with The Gift of Guilt, and that was fucking awesome. And it's exactly what you said, dude. Just keep playing that final riff, 30 minutes. Just don't get off the stage. You know,
Yeah.
just keep playing it. So yeah, they're I it's too soon for me to like try to factor them into being like a best live band that I've ever seen, you know. But they're definitely amazing because I definitely have my like top three, top four live concerts, and I'm not sure if I can just like plop them in there just on
What are your
being
top three? Just
okay. Agalloch is number one.
oh man. Well, R.I.P.
Yeah, are you an Agalloch fan? Sorry.
I have not gotten into them yet. They're one of those bands. I gotta check them out. Like I've listened to them a little bit. I just don't think it's been the right time in my life.
Yep, and listen. I'm not gonna send you any of their stuff until probably October, November. So
Okay.
this year in that time, because I mean, it's a set. It's all about the setting. I think you know
Well, we have a beautiful fall here.
exactly.
I mean, I love autumn. I named my daughter after the season, so if that
Oh,
means anything to you,
definitely best time of year for me too. But yeah, I will send you some of that stuff there. So yeah, number one, Agalloch. Number two, probably be Iron Maiden. like the first time I saw him.
Oh,
I
shit.
went with,
Okay.
yeah. The number three would be Yob. Uh, first time I saw Yob. So that's a tough top three to crack into for me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, they're amazing. And it almost might be because of like seeing them in an arena, right? Like Agalok and Yob, I actually saw both in the same venue where it's very small. You're in there with like a couple hundred people, 200,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
I prefer that. I love small
Exactly.
shows.
So seeing Gojira in like such a big arena might take it down, but I'm still thinking about it. What are so talk about your live experiences?
Yob is number one,
Ah,
but
fucking
that
A.
was a whole experience in itself. Going up to St. Vitus, it's a 250 person cap venue. Going up there and seeing them play for 4 nights in a row, and all 4 nights I was right there,
That's amazing.
right towards the front. Um, so that's really hard not to put number one. Um, I really liked Primitive Man.
Oh, that one's up there actually for me.
That was a I'd almost put that as more of an honorable mention because it was very, again, they're not easy to listen to. They're so negative. They're oppressive. It's not. I don't remember the last time I listened to them because it's like, oh, don't want to listen to them and just be down and out for the rest of the day. You know,
Yep.
like incredible band and
Ex-
phenomenal live performance. Um, I don't know if you know Sigur Ross. I don't know if you've seen
I
them.
I know I have a couple of their albums. I have not seen them, but wow. So that's up there for you.
Yeah, that was just a whole different experience.
Hmm.
Um, it's just kind of hard to, I don't know, like the live thing. I've seen so many bands live lately. It's
So I mean,
hard to say.
it's hard to categorize it, right? Like,
Yeah, and it's like, Primitive Man versus Sigur Ross, like I could
how do
put
you do
those
that?
two, group those two in the same, like some of the best bands I've seen live, but Sigur Ross is like going to heaven and having angels and Jesus play for you. And then Primitive Man is like going to hell and being tortured by Satan and his minions. And it's just,
Absolutely.
and both of them were equally incredible. Um, High Lung was really good live.
Oh yeah, dude. When you
That
were
was
telling me
cool.
about that, that's sounds amazing.
And then Gojira. I mean, Gojira's, I've seen them a
So
bunch of times.
they would be up there for your like top five, like top three concerts.
Probably top five at this point.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for some small shows. Uh, Portrayal of Guilt was another one that was really good live. Definitely more of the like hardcore punk black metal, whatever the fuck they are. But saw them at the Odd, and that was one of the craziest
Wow.
shows I've ever seen.
That's pretty cool to hear. I'll have to keep an eye out for them.
They're definitely different. And I like them for the black metal aspect. I've never gotten super into punk and hardcore.
Hmm.
Um, like maybe Converge is like the closest thing, but they really did it for me live. But yeah, Gojira, my favorite, the favorite performance I saw from them was at the Orange Peel,
Nice.
and because it felt like it was almost the smallest time I've seen them. I would love to see Gojira play like at somewhere small and play a bunch of their small, like their older stuff.
Yeah. See, if I think I had seen them in more of that environment, it would have been entirely different.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, the arena stuff is just different. Doesn't hit me
in your relationship with your fellow concert goer is very different in that in the arena, right? Because
Yeah,
as you said, you're more open to being
you're like
stuck with. There are
you're just
people who are talking like over
sitting there.
there, or just yeah, not even like head banging. They're just yeah, just there. So it's hard not to detract for that. But I think Orange Peel would have been an ideal size venue for sure.
Yeah.
So
So
it's cool.
I'm gonna bring up their set list from Orange Peel when I saw them, and this was like right before my birthday too.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just,
dude.
just like a couple days before my birthday, so it was kind of like I don't know. Apparently, bands come around here on my birthday, so it's just a thing.
They
Yob on my birthday.
they know you've been. They're like, ah.
Oh, King Buffalo is also another really good band live.
Was it when we saw them, or which one was the best?
That was my least favorite time I've seen them.
Oh, really? No shit.
Like it was good, but when they played here in Asheville, it was definitely not my favorite set list. I would have chosen a
Oh,
completely different set list, but
mhm,
they were just on fire that night. The crowd was super into it.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, another good one. So yeah, so their set list from
Yeah.
when I saw them at the Orange Peel in 2019, they opened with Ouroboros.
Wow. See, right off the gate,
Well,
like
it's
what the fuck?
like whoa, that's
Yeah.
so like that's what you're gonna open with. It's just, and that's what I love about them. They don't, at least back, maybe they're different now, but like opening up with that and just
It's a bold move.
yeah, it's like oh, we released Magma a couple years ago, but we're gonna open up with Ouroboros, and then went straight into Backbone, and then from there in a heaviest matter of the universe.
Wow.
Yeah,
See,
like
the
those
fact that
two back,
you got those back to back,
like
like
whoa,
that's almost too intense. That's like
yeah, it was just
too
like
much destruction.
whoa.
I'm surprised the crowd didn't pull the whole venue apart, just fucking moshing to that.
Have you been to the Orange Peel?
Yeah, yeah,
You know how you feel how the floor flexes when people
yeah,
jump? Um, and then
yeah,
they did Stranded. Like it's
yeah,
cool. Like go, all right, like give us a break here. Like yes, that's still a banger, but let's take a break. Oh, then they did Flying Whales, which is yeah, you know how I feel about that one.
absolutely.
And then Love,
Wow. See, killer deep cut.
yeah, like there's just coming out of nowhere with like an old one, Into the Cell, which that one ever like whenever I saw them play that down in Orlando, that's become one of my favorite ones to see live. Uh,
Yeah,
it's not one of my favorite songs from their whole discography, but to see that one live, like that's always one I want to see. And then they played Unicorn.
what?
Yeah.
Really?
And first live performance since 2007.
No shit.
Yeah.
That is such a random. I didn't think they would have played any of those interlude tracks, but that is cool.
Yeah. And then they went from Unicorn into Silvera,
That's cool.
which is Hendrik, shut up. So they did that. Then I don't know, it says encore, encore two, encore three. So they took a
Wow.
break. Then they played The Gift of Guilt, like that, which is kind of cool to see them play that one as a let's take a break and then let's do that.
Yeah.
And went straight into La Femme Sauvage. Like I remember how they
That
went. That was no break, just like right into it.
and that song starts so strong, like the it's a
Right.
loud, it's an intense start. That's cool.
Yeah. So they in
Yeah.
Gift of Guilt is a very quiet.
Hmm.
Like I don't really remember how
Transition.
they transitioned. I just remember it was like crazy to see like you're still like you're just into Gift of Guilt, and then all of a sudden they just came out with La Femme Sauvage. Um, then they did the drum solo, of course.
Yeah.
Got to show off.
S-
Into the Shooting Star,
Okay.
which
Was it
was
cool
really,
live?
oh yeah, that was the second time I saw him play it live.
Nice.
But then they took a break and came in with Blow Me Away Universe, which was
Wow.
such a random deep cut. Then
That
they went
almost
into,
makes no sense, dude.
right, it's like they did that into Ocean Planet.
That makes less sense.
It's like, whoa, what is, like, holy crap. Like they're really, it was just,
Wow.
it felt like that show was the one for the fans. And that was by
Maybe
far,
that tour was.
it's just my favorite time seeing them. The first time was really cool. It was right off of La Font Sauvage. So I got a lot of
Yeah.
songs from that, but there was just something special about that Orange Peel show.
That
Just
set list sounds special. So they ended on Ocean Planet?
they ended with Vacuity. Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like so many just deep cuts. Like
Holy
they
shit.
played their bangers,
No way.
but they also didn't play a lot from Magma. What do they play? Looking back on that from Magma,
You said 3, right? You said Cell, Silvera, and Stranded.
yeah, but
Yeah.
they went deep. They played all their bangers, and then they came out with like deep cuts like "Blow Me Away Universe," like and "Ocean Planet."
Damn, dude, that's yeah. Gojira's a definite live band. Like everyone is very much protesting at your house, Ben. They're fucking rioting over there.
Yeah, dude, they just want some feed. They're like, "Oh, you like Gojira? Don't you love the animals?
Hey,
Take
come
care of
on,
the animals and feed us."
save the animals. But no, I think I hope we paid proper tribute to this super important band. Yeah, for me, closing thoughts. Like I think they will be a band I will try to continue to follow, no matter what they do. Like I think we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, where it's like I feel like they're still very genuine in what they're trying to do and the direction that they're trying to go in, and that they don't want to retread. So they're not going to recreate Fortitude or Magma. So I will be here for the next album, and I'll be ready. And I think as time continues to move on, the 3 albums of Mars is Serious through L'Enfant Sauvage will be just that'll be a heralded era for this band, and hopefully high watermarks for metal from the 2000s. Do you hear my cat now? He's now
Yeah,
like
I hear. I can't. Like, I just hear all the animals. Yeah,
I'm gonna get you, Louie.
Kind of wild take, but I think they are the next
Yeah,
Metallica. If I was to take,
I wanted to say that too. I agree. Absolutely.
and I love Metallica. I miss
Absolutely.
their era, but I feel like they're the most true and big band. Like some people are going to be like, "Oh, Slipknot," but
No.
sorry, Slipknot's not fucking metal. I love that first album, but they don't have that true, like, just to the core metal sound like Gojira.
Yep.
And like I like Slipknot. I like some of the other bigger bands that have gotten. I can't think of any other band that I would say would be the next coming of Metallica,
No.
but Gojira is.
I think Gojira for sure. And just going to see them live in an arena with like 5 to 10,000 people also seeing them, that cemented it for me that this is people are always like, well, what will happen to metal after, Metallica and Ozzy Osbourne and Iron Maiden age out? Gojira is the answer to me. Like that's what's gonna happen.
I truly
And
believe that because they've got their anthems, but
they
then
absolutely do.
kids are going to go to those shows because of Magma and Fortitude, and then they're going to hear stuff from Mars is Serious and the Font Sauvage and The Way of All Flesh and be like, whoa, what is that?
Yep.
And they're going to look up that set list and they're going to get into it, and that's going to be their intro to metal. And the next thing you know, they're going to be listening to Rivers of Nile and Primitive Man and Yob.
Yep.
And that'll be they've become an important band in the metal journey.
Absolutely. And
They are a gateway drug into metal.
And it's just cool that a band as genuine and legit as Gojira were able to achieve that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think for me, going to see them live at the Asheville date, that was like an event, you know? It's not like a fucking random concert. Like all of the metalheads that I know from the surrounding areas, all that are of like our generation, kind of all traveled to be at Asheville for that concert.
Oh,
So
I would have been
I
there if I wasn't going to the Syracuse one.
exactly,
And I
like,
probably would have gone if I had been in town. I would have last minute bought a ticket. I'm like,
oh,
fuck
you
it.
definitely would have, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's they're the band, I think, moving forward that will hopefully continue to capitalize on their momentum. So, but then at the same time, just their music is emotionally impactful and important, and it helped me grow as a person. It sounds like it helped you grow as a person too.
It got
Just
me through some hard
and
times.
got you through some hard times and really been there as like that solace, you know? Like I owe a lot to this band. So dude, I appreciate you fucking
Yeah.
doing this with me, man.
Cheers.
This was awesome. I enjoyed almost 4 hours, man.
I know it's crazy. I was
that
like,
is crazy.
I don't know how we're going to talk about them for 2, and then here we are for 4 hours. So
And
yeah,
that's what always happens. You just, you run through it really quick in the beginning and then you get into the groove and here we are 4 hours later, just
yeah. All right, cheers.
still
Let me know what the
talking,
next one
but
is.
yeah,
I got
yeah. Which
there goes
we're
my alarm. I got to give the dog his eye drops for
yep.
his
So
fucked up eye. So
I'm ending the broadcast. Thanks for everyone who watched or will watch later.
go see
Yeah.
Gojira live.
Man, go see them live. Check out their albums. Cheers, all.
Cheers.